Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Everybody, Spaced Out Radio is live from SOR headquarters in beautiful British Columbia as we continue to rock hard here on the show. Big welcome to all of you. My name is Dave Scott. Our guest tonight, Adrian Reister. Yeah, he's formerly of the United States Air Force. He has experiences with UAP and shadow people while on duty. I thank Thomas Fessler for bringing Adrian towards us and getting this interview lined up with us, so we really appreciate it. We're also going to say a big thank you to everyone in our chat room so far tonight. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Acreon takes home the silver with Mennonite Abe bringing home the bronze medal. There's Nightmare, Michael Morris, John Swan. Lovely Nikki is here. She'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Grand Paul Holland, Luscious Jules, Goober Bear, Simon Condon, how are you guys? Double Tim, the awesome cat chaser, nice to see you both. Sultry Susie, the gorgeous Fidgety Aura. Parasolo is here. Parasolo, for the first time, will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, to the right of the studio. Magnus Zaram, good to see you. Dirty Filth, always a pleasure. And $5,900. Todd Purdon, good to have you guys here. Thomas Fessler, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your support of what we do here. And of course, we love it when our fans support you at Disclosure Tonight on YouTube. So great show over there. Make sure you keep up the love with Thomas as well. Who else do we got here? We got Wes H. We have Russell Gill. Thanks for coming on in. Jurassic Joey, good to see you. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. And who else is here tonight? We have the gorgeous Anne Celine from KPNL. We love it over there. Yep, we love him. And who else? Oh, Doug Shelby is here, everyone. The Doug Shelby has returned. Okay, let's continue on. There's Mark Longoria, the gorgeous Jenny Whitebear, and who else is joining us? Let's take a peek here, shall we? Apollo 11, good to have you back, buddy. The gorgeous Pinzer Flactum has returned. She will always curtsy, by the way. She likes a good curtsy. All right, Richard Elmore, good to see you, buddy. Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon, right there. Stephen Edmond, Matthew Kennedy, Eris Manna, John Brown, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. And who else? Brock Landers, it's been a while. How you doing? Mr. Lurks-a-Lot, looking good. The gorgeous Carol, always a pleasure to have you here. Black Triangle, how you doing all the way from Scotland? Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Carfanibre, Jose, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining us. Radagast the Gray, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Philip Baca is here. The Philip Baca and Philip Blair. It's the Phillips times two. There you go. All right, Peppa H, nice to see you. That's a good Merle there, Philip Blair. Just saying, that's a good Merle. You never go wrong with a healthy Merle in the middle of the night. Dave Bailey from the UK, good morning. R&R, it's been a while. How you doing? Nice to see you there. Terry Brown, always a pleasure. Michael Darling, thank you for coming on in. And who else is joining us here? Let's take a look. The gorgeous Teresa. She will be in Las Vegas for our Spaced Out Radio fan party, April 25th to 27th. Sensational Sherry, TMI, Bigfoot Rob, the stunning Samantha Hazelwood Gray. Nice to have you all here. And where else are we going here? Noble Patrick, always a pleasure to see you. John Ballerman, how you doing, man? Been a few days, and we're going to get going here in just a couple of seconds here. A reminder, the super chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. We say thank you to all the veterans out there who are tuning us in. You always have a safe place right here in our Spaced Out Radio chat room, and we got about 30 seconds here. Obi Flat, good to see you. Reminder that on February 26th, Lynn Wallington will have the Women of Ufology Conference right here on our YouTube channel. You're going to make sure you take that on in. R&R, thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate that. And of course, you can get all your Spaced Out Radio swag on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Hey, Drew Morris, how you doing? Thanks for coming on in. Here we go, everyone. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old baby the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Adrian Reister is our guest tonight because we got a great show. If you don't know him, you are going to learn very, very fast. He talks about seeing UFOs and nuclear bases while a part of the United States Air Force. Then in hour number 3, we will bring you a great story from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller. Bigfoot Rob fills in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Shirky Poo's got the news, and we got the thought of the day as well. We want to introduce you to Adrian Reister tonight. He is a former nuclear weapons technician, originally from Texas, who served in the United States Air Force at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, which stores a wide variety of nuclear bombs. He did this between 2003 and 2007. His service is commendable. However, something strange happened. He saw a couple of UAP-type orbs and a shadow person. What are they doing in a nuclear facility? And Adrian has decided that it's time to come out publicly. Recently, he came out publicly on Thomas Fessler's Disclosure Tonight on YouTube. If you haven't checked out that interview with Thomas, I highly suggest you do. But we're very glad, thank you to Thomas, for getting in touch with Adrian and bringing us this great interview tonight. Adrian Reister, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you very much.
Very glad to have you here, my friend. Let us introduce you to our audience because there are not a lot of people formerly of the military coming on out talking about UAP, talking about any type of the phenomena. Why did you decide that it was your turn to come on out and discuss these matters?
I originally came out, I had watched the David Fravor videos, and that it initially caught my intrigue back in 2017, and then I saw Lou Elizondo talking about things, and he's in the CIA. Same thing with John Ramirez, and I figure if these people are talking about it, why couldn't I? I was just an airman, but I had also seen these things, and if I had seen these things, perhaps other airmen had seen these as well. And this is more like me trying to get it out there and having other people decide that they want to talk about what they've seen as well.
Were you always a believer in the phenomena before this happened to you?
Yeah, I suppose I've always been a believer. I'd never really experienced anything like I've talked about this before, that my parents had taken a trip to Marfa, and I got to see the Marfa lights in Texas, and those were a little similar to what I saw in Missouri, but it wasn't exactly the same thing. In Marfa, it looks more like headlights in the sky. For lack of a better description of that.
Okay, so you had some idea of what you were talking about, but never really an experiencer per se as you
Right.
went into this. So I want to learn about you because, you know, during the times of the To the Stars Academy, when Lou Elizondo was still a part of that, one of the big stories that came out, even though it was already known by the UFO community, was the fact that there were UFOs spotted over a number of nuclear weapon silos and facilities. And, you know, Robert Salas came out with this decades ago.
Mhm.
And it was always shunned like it didn't happen. It made,
Mhm.
you know, almost made a fool out of Robert, even though he was telling the truth the entire time. And now we know he was telling the truth.
Mhm.
So for people who don't know about what it's like in a nuclear weapons facility, I know you have a lot of NDAs. There's things you can say and things that you cannot. But for us laymen out there who don't know what it's like, what is it like being a part of one of these nuclear weapons facilities?
Um, you work at a secluded area away from pretty much the rest of the base. You're under 24/7 security. And on top of that, you kind of have, it's kind of like a camaraderie, of all your nuclear weapons guys, because there's only so many that are trained, really. Um, and so, there's also this thing of kind of making fun of each other, and it's just one of those things when you're young. Um, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? You know, I mean, you're literally playing with toys that can blow up the world if
Yeah,
if necessary, or
if
a good chunk
necessary.
of it. Put a nice hole in it,
Hmm.
okay, and ruin a bunch of land around it. You know,
Yeah.
when you got into the Air Force, is that what you wanted to do?
No, actually, when I had gone into the Air Force, I'd gotten a high percentage on my ASVAB score, so I could pretty much pick whatever I wanted out of the Air Force. And I had initially gone with EOD, which was the Explosive Ordnance Disposal. It's essentially the bomb squad of the Air Force. It's a really stringent, it's a very difficult training course to get through. And unfortunately, I did not make it through. I ended up what they called washed out. I washed out of that course, and I spent a good month or two as a student out of training, in which the Air Force was kind of, I imagine, juggling me around, seeing where they could stick me. And I had already undergone, top secret clearance, uh, like evaluations. They had gone out to talk to people about my background and all that kind of thing. So I guess I was kind of a shoo-in to become a nuclear weapons technician, because it takes a high percentage of ASVAB score, I imagine, and that they didn't want to waste a top secret clearance evaluation.
Not when you're scoring that high. They want to find a job for you and keep
Yes.
you around. So, I mean, to go into the facility for the first time, how intimidating was that?
Um, the one in Whiteman Air Force Base was actually, it's not very intimidating. Well, I suppose it is. You kind of get used to these things as you work on military installations. There's fences everywhere. There's authorized sign postage everywhere. If you're not in where you're supposed to be, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be, um, you're obviously not supposed to be there. So, you as long as you make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's generally not issue.
No, I can see that, and I can appreciate that. For those who, like me, who never been around that, I mean, I think of you sitting in front of this giant board with all sorts of buttons to push, and big screens everywhere, making sure the temperature of the missile, even though it's not armed, is all right and everything is safe and sound. I can imagine the type of testing you had to do for that, and drills almost on a weekly or daily basis.
Uh, Actually, I can't really get into that. um,
That's fine.
I didn't particularly work on missiles myself. I just worked on bombs.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
just it was two separate bomb or weapon platforms.
Okay. And this is where I will remind our audience that with some of the questions that we asked, you are going to have questions that you're going to have to defer because of paperwork called NDAs that you signed, non-disclosure agreements. So we do have to respect that, and we will respect that. So I apologize if I ask any more sensitive type questions. I'll
No,
just
it's not a
blame it on
problem.
me. I'll just blame it on me being Canadian here, not how the system works. All right. So for you, you spend 4 years plus in the United States Air Force. At
Mhm.
what point did you start hearing about these UAPs? Did you ever hear about them all before your experiences?
Back then, they were called UFOs. This is before the UAP thing came to be a more prevalent thing. Um, we didn't really hear anything too much about UFOs over, like, especially like nuclear installations. Um, I think it was it was essentially stigmatized as well. You're seeing UFOs. Okay, are you sure? Are you crazy? Starting to wear a tinfoil hat kind of deal. But or if people did see UFOs, they were like, oh no, it was probably a weather balloon or whatever. But it was never taken seriously, I want to say.
Really? Does that surprise you, considering the United States Air Force likes to say they own the air, they own the sky?
Right. Well, they also, maybe the upper echelons do. When you're down in the trenches as an airman basic, you, you're treated like an idiot because you're 18 years old, you're 19 years old, you don't know nothing from nothing, essentially, even though you've been trained to work on nuclear weapons and trained to do these other things. But it essentially comes down to this airman's word versus a sergeant's word, or that kind of thing. Just shut up and color. That doesn't concern you. Don't worry about it. Just do this over here.
For those of us who have never served, what is that like where they have you so focused on what you can and cannot do? I mean, it is extremely regimental, and especially being in something as sensitive as you were,
Mhm.
with bombs and nuclear weapons. I mean, that had to be a little odd at times. I mean, even to this day, a number of years later, you still can't talk about anything, and there's things that you'll have to take to your grave.
It was a little odd, and especially like there are some times I want to tell my wife, "Oh, this is what I did," or this is something that I can do because I did it this way and this way and this way because of this. I did it here in this such a manner. But and it's also difficult to relate, some experiences that I've had because they were obviously knee deep in a nuclear weapon. So, it is a little difficult trying to relate some things, but other than that, I just try to live my life as easy as possible, man.
Well, now you do. So, I mean, going back then, though, I mean, did you think that there would be all of this UFO flap that you see today when you hear those stories that are put down or cut down way back when?
you know, I I probably would have paid attention a lot more, to be honest, if I knew what was going on. Especially back then, because even back then, there were such things as, drones, but they were called UAVs. But they still didn't operate the way that people say they operate it. It would have to work, like they say, for longer than 20 minutes to hours for these drones to be hanging around. And back then we just did not have that kind of technology, really. So that was an easy thing to roll out back then, especially when I've seen the things, I've seen B-2s take off from the base. I've seen F-117s take off. I've seen F-25s and F-35s and F-22s. It's a different thing seeing all different kinds of things, or something that you can't explain.
Did you ever, fast forwarding to today, did you ever think that this would become a hot button topic the way it has over the last couple of years?
No, I don't. It's really difficult because it wasn't really up until 2 years ago, I want to say, that this is kind of really started picking up speed. After the Nimitz thing, it kind of, all this news kind of picked up and then it died back down again. And then, little things kind of keep it going along, but it hasn't, like I said, up until like the last two years that it's kind of steamrolled into what it is. So no, I couldn't have guessed this is where it would have ended up so far.
What do you think of the fact that so few people in the Air Force, Navy, and the Army, even the Marines, have stepped forward to say that they have seen things like you have, or people like Alex Dietrich or David Fravor?
I can't really say about Navy people or Marine people, but I know Air Force people, and if what I think is right, they're just afraid, really, especially people with clearances, especially people with PRP, people in high places or people in sensitive areas, and they see these things. They don't want to talk because I don't want to lose what I have, essentially. I don't want to be Section 8 and I want to be labeled crazy. The military is a pretty good life if you can get through it, Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I were still in the military, I probably wouldn't be talking about it.
Do you think but now you think it's a subject that needs to come out, and you want to do your little part to try and encourage others to step forward and say what they saw, because it doesn't hurt to say what you saw.
Right. I agree. And to an extent, there might be some backlash with people that are still in the military, like I can't imagine what it would be, but I would probably encourage people that have left the military, if you feel comfortable, speak about what you've seen. Even if, and I understand it's a difficult ask of someone that is still in the military and has these clearances and PRP. If you don't feel comfortable, don't say anything, man. Like, I'm not asking anybody to jeopardize their lives for anything.
Adrian, for people who don't understand or comprehend a non-disclosure agreement with the military, what happens if you break one?
That's like life in prison, man. That's pretty much you're considered a traitor, really, if you break your NDAs.
And what is a PRP?
Look at Edward. PRP is a personal reliability program. Essentially, you're in a sensitive area. They want to ensure that you are a reliable person, which is essentially the whole name of the program. You're not allowed to do certain things. You're not allowed to be hypnotized. You're not allowed to have NyQuil. You're not allowed to have certain other medications. you're in a sensitive area and you're not allowed to do certain things.
Does that include today as well?
No, I'm no longer PRP certified.
Okay, because I know Dr. Bob McGuire, we call him Science Bob around here. When he was CIA, he can't go for hypnotherapy. To this day, he can't. He's not allowed.
True. And I do, yes, there are certain aspects of it. I am not allowed to be hypnotized for, but that's not essentially because of PRP. That's because of my inner workings with knowing certain parts of nuclear weapons.
Right. I totally understand that. We got 3 minutes here to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Adrian Reister is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Adrian, for you, when we come back, we're going to talk about your stories and your encounters that you had while part of the United States Air Force. And this is a little too close for comfort for a lot of people in understanding it. But for you, how did these experiences change you? And we'll get into them in the next half hour, but I'm saying on a personal level.
Back then, honestly, they didn't really change me a whole lot. I kind of just put it out of sight, out of mind. I didn't really give it a second thought up until, when things started happening with the Nimitz, and especially within the last year or two. And, it was only a couple months ago that I had seen a report from George Knapp about 2 security forces guys out in Nellis that had seen a shadow person on their base. So that's kind of when I linked the two together.
You like coming out and talking about this? Are you comfortable with this?
No, I'm not. Actually, makes me very anxious talking about these kind of things. But it's an important thing that I feel that should be said. So,
Why are you anxious?
I'm not really sure. I'm probably because I'm more scared of actually accidentally saying something, or I get anxious in front of like groups of people. I guess I have kind of stage fright. So that's really most of my anxiety coming there.
I can understand that. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's so much you want to say, and there's so much more you cannot say.
Right.
And I guess the good part is with these experiences, they don't really affect or didn't affect your duties on the job while you were in the United States Air Force.
Right. To an extent, yes.
Well, like I said, when we come back from the break, we're going to learn about these stories as we continue on through the evening. Do you, or has anybody, you've done a few interviews now, not many, I believe this is your third or fourth that you have done. Has anybody approached you about why you're talking?
I haven't been necessarily approached. I have talked to some people that I worked with at Whiteman. Not all of them were favorable. And, we had our differences and we kind of went our separate ways. But it's, not every experience I've had with former Air Force people have been favorable.
Including friends.
Yes.
So why would they, why would these people, we got 20 seconds. Why would these people give you hell for coming out?
I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I'm not entirely sure, other than maybe they're just scared as well of some spotlights being shined into that area of the Air Force.
Good answer. Good way to stop it right there, as we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Adrian Reister is here, former nuclear weapons tech in the United States Air Force. Spent 4 years in, saw a couple of strange happenings that we are going to get to when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the second half hour. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
All right.
All right. Hi, Shelly Montgomery. Welcome. And who else showed up here? The Wizard Grin. Good to see you. JR, thanks for coming on in. And thank you, Obi Flett, for the amazing super chat, along with Cat Chaser, Rob, R&R, and Thomas. We really appreciate it. The super chat is a good, healthy way to help us continue to bring this awesome program to you each and every night, 7 days a week. So thank you so much for the love. We give you the love right back. I don't usually ask a lot of questions, Adrian, during the break because I kind of like to keep that for the whole radio side thing, because it really sucks if you say something really good during the break and bring it up back on air. Yeah, totally, completely different answer. So I will just pause on that for a little bit. But no, it's good. This is good so far. Hi, Michael Leger, the Michael Leger. The gorgeous Jessica McCreary has returned. By the way, everyone, we put up in case you haven't checked it out, on Canada's Great Unknown, we got a brand new story up for you tonight. And thank you so much. We passed 400 people tonight. We're at 402. 402. Oh. But we have a new story up here. Here is the link for Canada's Great Unknown. All right. Check it on out. We got some stories from some police officers that I edited down about some of the strange happenings that they went through. So check that on out. I would appreciate it. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment below. I know some of you have already seen it, but it would be great if you could. And if you haven't subscribed to that channel, please do so. It would be really, really cool if you did. So, hey, gorgeous Pam McSee, Eddie Rodriguez, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. And we appreciate that. Obi Flat's already listened, so thank you, Obi. Appreciate that. Okay, big question for you from Fidgety Aura. How many cats do you have? What are their names? Do you feel they warn or protect you from shadow people?
I wouldn't say they warn or protect me. I have 4 cats. My first cat is the only one that I bought. Her name is MJ for Mary Jane, Spider-Man. When I picked her out, she would only sleep on top of a Spider-Man pillowcase. So hence the name MJ. We had bought her from PetSmart. She's a kitten. Well, she's not in here, actually. She's the one that jumps in my lap fairly regularly. So
in other words, she will make an appearance tonight.
Probably. She already has, I think. My second cat is Ronald. He was left here by my wife's daughter when she moved to another house. And I ended up inheriting Ronald, and he's my cat now. And then I have 2 porch kitties that we rescued off of our porch. One is Noodle. I literally rescued her from the jaws of a raccoon. And then my cat Jack, who was born under the porch and we saved as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we have 3 cats here. I call each of them Puss. It's just easier than remembering their different names. One is my daughter's. That he is just, you could just throw him around. He doesn't care. One is a rescue that was homeless in our neighborhood, just showed up.
Oh, and
wow. And one we adopted. So
speaking of the devil.
Yeah, there we go.
This is MJ.
There's little MJ right there. Very cool. We got about 1 minute here.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Not all the cats get along, apparently.
If we have a good brawl, that'll just be good for my All right. I got two
That's
big
yeah.
dogs as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're not in here tonight. My dog Doug will come in here and probably later on in the third hour he'll make his way in after the break. All right, we got about 10 seconds.
They are interesting family members. Cats do make
Hold
some
on one
interesting
second,
family
buddy.
members.
Hold on. We are back for the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Really appreciate you earning our listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight. UFOs, nuclear weapons, and the United States Air Force. Adrian Reister is with us. He spent 4 years as a nuclear weapons technician in the USAF, and he saw some interesting things when he was on duty. And these are things that probably shouldn't be poking around nuclear weapons facilities. Why they happened, we don't know. So let's find out what happened. Adrian, welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, and I should forewarn our audience before we get too heavily into this. You are surrounded by your 4 cats. So if they all of a sudden hear cats meowing in the background, that's what it is. All right. Adrian's a cat man, and that's okay. We like our animals around. They're loud. So just want to kind of say, if a cat does start meowing, well, there's a good reason. So, Adrian, let's learn about your story here. Okay. At what point did something strange happen? Take us back to that day.
So I'm not really I can't really get into the exact day because I don't particularly know it, to be honest. My first experience that I had was, I want to say it was in the fall of 2005. And it was just almost right after about a year after I'd gotten onto base. Actually, it was about a year and a half. And I was doing what they call gun guard. Essentially I'm holding a rifle as a secondary form of defense against intruders into a weapon secure area or weapon storage area. And this is already an area that has a 24/7 perimeter by security forces. So I'm just redundant at that point. But regardless, my job is to surveil, make sure there's nothing, no immediate threats coming through the fence or along the roads or whatever. So, I'm just standing there about the fall of 2005. There was a transport team that had just hooked up to a weapon or like an RLA adapter. I forget what they're called. Gun guard is a term used, actually. We used it fairly frequently. And so the transport team had just hooked up to this trailer, and they were coming down the line, and I was looking off into like above the trees, and I just noticed this kind of like an orb, essentially. What everybody sees is like an orb. I mean, it wasn't anything special. I kind of at first thought it was a star. It was about twilight, just when stars finally start coming out. And so, like I said, I thought it was just a star, and I'm kind of looking around, and as the transport team comes along, I notice the star kind of jumps up a little bit above the tree line, kind of faster than anything normally would, even helicopter. We had seen Apaches on it's an Apache training base as well. Whiteman Air Force Base is, and so it didn't move like a helicopter. It was too quick, too fast, and again, it was kind of just bobbing there as the transport team was coming down. And I noticed as it was kind of as the transport team was backing into the IMF, or the Integrated Missile Facility, are essentially the building that we worked in. This thing kind of zipped off to the north and then went straight up and kind of just disappeared as the transport team was putting this weapon in, securing the weapon inside the area, so essentially that's what I saw that night. I didn't really register it as a threat at the time. It didn't really seem like it was threatening, so I kind of just filed it away and didn't give it too much of a second thought. Again, at this point, I can't really prove anything. Nobody else is saying, "Hey, did you see that?" And at the time, I'm only an airman, or an airman first class, so I don't have a whole lot of rank. It's basically my word against a sergeant or a senior airman, or whoever. And so I just decided not to say anything at that time, and kind of just out of sight, out of mind, file it away, move on, keep on moving.
Okay, so explain to what you saw again. You saw this orange orb kind of come out of the sky and start doing some weird moves. Explain that. How long did it last?
Well, essentially, moving that transport team took about at most 10 minutes. That I had noticed this thing was about 10 minutes. It could have been hanging out there longer. I hadn't noticed it before that time. Maybe it was just below the tree line, and it kind of, as it saw activity was happening, it decided to play hide and go seek. But like I said, it couldn't have lasted longer than 10 minutes, this whole occurrence.
I'm sorry, did you say 10 minutes or 2 minutes?
10 minutes.
Okay.
10.
Okay, so when this was happening and you were watching this in the sky, and you were having this experience, did anybody else notice it with you?
No. The transport team all they're doing is making sure that their weapons are arriving safely within, the building. It's my duty at that time to kind of just do the surveillance, and if anybody else had seen anything, they certainly didn't say anything to me.
And you didn't feel comfortable in talking to anybody about this because you didn't want to get labeled. You didn't want to take any chances.
Essentially, yes. And this is one of those. Oh my! This is one of those things.
This is what we were waiting for. Pay-per-view. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. This is one of those things that you start talking about it, and people are like, "Okay, well, you're the crazy guy." Okay, you're the crazy guy. Sure. All right, man. All right. And then eventually, they'll either not take you seriously anymore, or you just get kind of drummed out. You get written up. You get a paper trail. They find a reason to get rid of you. Quite crazy,
So at no point, for the sake of your career, did you want to even take a chance at saying anything?
Right. I mean, once you get the label, it kind of sticks.
Right. How big was this orb?
You know, as I was looking at it, it was a little bit bigger than, if I had to guesstimate, well, obviously I do have to guesstimate. It was about the size of, couldn't have been bigger than a fighter, like probably an F-15 size, maybe an F1, F-25, F-22. But it didn't move like them. It didn't flash lights like them. It didn't, all aircraft have, the white strobe lights. They have the green and red lights on them. It didn't have anything like that. And it was a good, I want to say a good mile away from me, and probably a good, it's hard to tell distance.
Okay, yeah, and at night it is difficult to tell any sort of distance, but you watched this for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Was it hovering over the base? Was it close? Were you surprised that nobody else was looking at this time?
It actually was not over the base. If my judgment of distance is correct, it was essentially over some pig farms right off of sight of base, and that's where it operated at. There wasn't any part that I noticed that it came flying over the base. It was, I don't know, man.
No, and I understand what you're saying. It was still close enough to catch your attention,
right,
and to be potential concern, considering there are nuclear weapons surrounding you.
Right. Yes, it was still big enough to where I had noticed it, but it wasn't a direct threat by flying over the base or getting too close or demonstrating some kind of weird, I don't know, weapon system or something like that, It was just a dot in the sky, and it moved around pretty weird. Okay, all right, bye.
No, it didn't even say hello, give you a flash or anything.
Right.
Do you think it knew you were looking at it?
I mean, it can be kind of a subjective thing. I would say that it noticed that the weapons were in movement, I would imagine, because otherwise, why else would it book it out of there when we had secured them within the building? And then again, why would it move to have a better view of the weapons as they're coming down the road? So maybe it wasn't, I don't think it was concerned of being looked at or being watched so much as that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. At some point, though, did you not think that maybe it could have been a drone or something along those lines?
And again, this is basically in 2005 at that time, we were barely making things like Predator drones. And even then they weren't considered drones per se. They were UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. And we did not have the kind of technology for that. Because even when it shot off to the north and it went straight up, it's not like it shot up and then, went so high it disappeared. It just disappeared. It ceased to exist at that point in time.
Wow. This led to another encounter that you had with another orb, but something happened in between that.
Yes.
Explain what happened. Take us to your next weird happening on base at Whiteman Air Force Base.
Okay, so this experience happened in 2006, and I want to say it was in the spring. We had probably just gotten a bunch of fresh recruits from tech school. And so we were probably not in the middle of a maintenance cycle. And when we're not doing maintenance, we're training crews. The more people that have experience, the easier it is for the rest of us, so that we're not always, everyone is elbow deep in nuclear weapons, time, distance, and shielding kind of thing. So I had just transferred over into the weapons support side of nuclear weapons operations. If essentially it's all one shop, we're all nuclear weapons techs. There's the maintenance side, there's nuclear weapons support, and then there's administration. I had just transferred into nuclear weapons support, and essentially what that job entails is I'm essentially distributing out toolboxes, chemicals, gloves, MSDs, essentially anything to support the operations of the nuclear weapons, which is the name of the shop. So at that time, I was working graveyard shift, or mids, what they call them, working from 11 a.m. to 7 in the morning. I don't remember exactly what day it was. We had just gotten a training crew in. They had just started working. It was probably about 2 o'clock is where I'll start my story, or 2 a.m. Roughly. And the training crew had been in the back bay. Whenever there's a training crew and they're using a training weapon, we treat it. It was treated as a real weapon. We secured everything, because still inside a training weapon is some classified material as well. So all the doors were pinned. The only way in and out of the building is essentially through the front door. And it's really hard to describe this front door unless you have been through something similar. I call it an airlock style door. It was essentially you walk through a front door, and then there's kind of like a little antechamber, and then you have to be let in through a secondary set of doors, kind of like a holding container. So that is the only way in and out of that building at that point in time. And so I'm sitting in weapons support. I've been by myself for about an hour, 2 hours at this time. I'm going through the internet. I think we're looking for an armory. And I just hear kind of like the pitter patter, or the sound of bare feet walking on cement. Or, it also sounded a little bit like water dripping, which is probably the more pragmatic thing to think of, because we had an eye wash station and one of those emergency showers. I don't know if people have seen these in warehouses or whatever. So, I turn around to go look at the eye wash station or the shower, and I don't see it. I know I spent a good minute, 30 seconds, looking at this thing to make sure it's not dripping, and I see that nothing's happening. So I kind of turn back around and kind of, okay, it's in my head, I guess I'm hearing things, or, whatever. It's a fairly big building, and sometimes there's sounds that don't sound quite right, but it's usually an explainable, or every time I've looked, it's an explainable sound, So I go back to looking at the computer, whatever that I'm doing at that time. And then I hear more distinctly, this time I could distinguish it was actual bare feet walking on cement, or like painted on cement. If people have been at a swimming pool that people paint the cement on the floor, there's that kind of like slapping wet sound. And that's when I decided to get up, because that was not combat boots, and you shouldn't be wearing, or you shouldn't have bare feet in our area. We all are issued combat boots for a specific reason, So I get up, and as I'm looking down the wall to the admin section, it was a little past some lockers. I noticed the outline, or the shape of this blurry kind of fuzzy, dark figure. It's the best thing I can describe is just a blurry, fuzzy, dark shape of a person. Um, it wasn't translucent except kind of like around the edges where it was that fuzzy blurriness. But towards the center, it was very opaque. You couldn't see through it. And that kind of, at that point, people have asked me, was it scary or, what were you thinking at the time? And, that I've had time to think about the experience. I wasn't really terrified. I wasn't scared. I wasn't anything. I didn't feel anything other than, oh my God, there's this thing over there. I got to go get it. There's something in this building. I got to go get it. So I start taking off towards this thing. And as I'm moving, it's also running, and it turns the corner into the admin section. And as it turns the corner, I'm almost right on its heels. And as I'm turning the corner, it's gone. I don't hear it. I don't see it. There's nothing to indicate that any doors have been opened. There are some nights that there are some days that doors haven't been opened at all, and they still have their tamper-proof seals. And, I'm going through there or those sections and making sure that nothing has been tampered with. All the doors are still pinned. I'm essentially checking and double checking again, because this is kind of a serious thing. I'm absolutely certain that I saw something, and I can't explain how it got in, and I can't explain how it got out. And I was like, at this point, I'm by myself. If I say anything to somebody, they're going to think I'm pretty crazy. They're going to think I'm really crazy because I've seen something that I can't explain. I have obviously no evidence. I can't, I didn't have anything to prove to them. And, in this admin section, there was really only there was a bathroom, there was a break room, there was a conference room, there was an office, there's several offices. And, as I'm going through each one, I'm, as I said, I'm checking and double checking, and I hadn't come across anything. There were no doors opened, no alarms had gone off, no sensors had been tripped outside. If there, and if there hadn't been an alarm tripped, because there would have been security forces to roll up, they would have been at that building within minutes, 5 minutes at the very minimum. So I decided, I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything solid evidence to say, hey, there was something in here. And I also don't want to be called crazy. So I'm just going to pretend this didn't happen, and I'm going to just keep on walking.
So many questions about this, man.
Sure.
I mean, no sensors are tripped, so you don't have any physical evidence. You don't want to radio in and call in extra armed guards in case, because you don't even have a verbal view or a visual on this, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a bad situation to be in right there.
I mean, the longest I had this thing in sight was at most 2 minutes, if that. That's the longest I saw it. And as soon as it turned that corner, I lost it.
We're going to get into that in a little bit more when we come back on Spaced Out Radio, because we are already through 1 hour here on the big show tonight. Adrian Reister is our guest. Shadow people, orbs, nuclear weapons. It doesn't sound like a good mix, but this is what happened to Adrian during his 4 years in the United States Air Force, guarding and protecting nuclear weapons facilities. Spaced Out Radio continues with hour number 2 next. All right, we're clear, dude.
All right. Yeah, it was.
Yes, Jenny, I did get a haircut and a flat ironing today. I even got I couldn't handle it anymore. I got my sides trimmed and the back trimmed. So I got number 1 put on the side. So now I can breathe and everything is beautiful once again. Everything is beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been letting my own hair grow out for a minute now. At first, I started shaving the sides and the back, and I got lazy with it, and I started letting it all grow out.
I can see that. I can see that. You got a good bearded mustache combination going.
Yeah.
Hi, Stunning Pam Smith. How are you? No, Dave will never have a man bun. That is for soccer player and hooligans and people who support Justin Trudeau.
Oh my!
They wear the man buns. Ocean Odell, welcome to our channel. How are you? Welcome to our chat room. It's a good hashtag there, Jeremy. All right. The beard, Kevin and Kevin's beard. 2 separate entities, 2 separate zip codes. There he is, right there. Look at that mane. That isn't Jesus, people. That is Kevin and Kevin's beard. Thurston Howell III, how are you, man? Good to see you. We got to convince Kevin to come to Vegas April 22nd to 24th for the SOR fan party. Yeah, we do. At the Golden Nugget Casino, Saturday, we're doing a live show. I'll tell you, our lineup is getting better. All right. George Knapp is likely going to be there. Michael Schratt, James Goodall, Bigfoot Rob, Nate Rudd, and Hallmark Corey are going to be there. Carter Bouchard is going to be there. Geraldine Orozco is going to be there. I believe Nicole Sackich, Grant Cameron, and even Richard Doty are going to be there. We got a lot of people coming, guys, for that Saturday show. Tickets for that will only be $25. All right? That's the only thing we're charging for the whole weekend is that live show. Lynn Wallington's going to be there. The guys from UFO Garage, Joe and Ben, are going to be there. It's going to be fun. We will be broadcasting it live on our YouTube channel if everything goes A-OK. All right, who else has come on in here? Mama Susan, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Robert Lampke, thank you for coming on in. And I think that's it. There we go. We're caught up. We're caught up. Yeah, we got a good time happening. And both Lynn Wallington and I will be speaking at UFOCon 2022 in San Francisco, California, March 25th to 28th, or 27th, pardon me. You can come hang out with us there. And we're going to have a lot of fun, man. We are going to have a lot of fun talking UFOs. It's going to be a great time. Lorian always puts on one of the greatest conferences annually in North America. This will be my 3rd time speaking at it. And you know what? I'm happy that I got an opportunity to be there again. And I love Lorian. She is a real mentor of mine. I'll do anything to help her out. So if you guys can make it, that is going to be great. UFOCon2022.com is the website. Get your tickets today. All right. Who else come in here? Oh, Sensational Sherry. Yeah. No. We retired that, Jim Chambers. All that retired. We got about 90 seconds here, dude. I still haven't picked a topic. What I'm going to... Lorian, if you're still in the chat room, what the hell am I talking about at your conference? Experiencers?
Experiencers.
or the media. Chris Mo from Austria, how are you? All right, we got about 1 minute. Of course, Lorian, you're invited to Vegas. Everyone's invited. Everyone's invited. We want Lorian Fenton there in Vegas, too. Of course she's invited. Shame on me for saying. All right, I got to speak about the experiencer thing. That's what I'll talk about. All right, we got 1 minute here. Thomas, R&R, Rob, that's Aussie Rob with the Ham Hawks. Cat Chaser and Obi, thank you so much for the super chats. We really do appreciate it. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis here. And if you want some swag, go to spacedoutradio.com. Check out our swag in our store. It's a great way to go there. No, Justin Trudeau is not invited to the Vegas party. Hi, Anastasia.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Oh, let's see here. It's Vafris. Vafris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Adrian Reister. He spent 4 years in the United States Air Force, where he literally worked at nuclear weapons facilities, guarding them, checking them on out, making sure the computers had the right buttons on them. So red meant red, green meant green, and blue meant blue. All right. I know he's kind of like, whatever, just shut up and get to me. All right. But this is his story. He's seen a couple of orbs. And right before the break, we were talking about this shadow person that you started chasing around. Were there no cameras in that facility, Adrian, that may have picked this up?
Well, so this is something that I talked to with Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review, that there are not cameras per se inside the facility. It's generally considered a bad thing to video record inside a classified area. However, outside of the actual integrated missile facility, in the 24/7 perimeter, that's always under camera. So nothing was, as far as I understand, there's nothing that was caught on those cameras. And inside of the building, aside from there not being cameras, there are still sensors that are measuring heat and, movement and all those other kinds of things that I don't even know what they detected. All I know is that if it was a human being, it would have gone off. Essentially. On top of that, go ahead.
I know that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there are security measures in place that probably cannot be talked about for security reasons. So,
yes.
Okay, so thank you for confirming that. I'm curious regarding any of those security apparatuses. Nothing picked anything up.
As far as I understood, nothing picked those up, or nothing picked it up. You know, while we have people inside the building, there are sections that we can lock down and, you know, set up the sensors. But generally, whenever the building is occupied by, you know, nuclear weapons techs, our sensors are not usually up, other than, you know, sensitive areas or like the front door essentially is the only thing that would have gone off, essentially because all the other doors were pinned and closed. And obviously, if something is large enough to break our doors off, security forces is already going to know about it, you know.
Yes, because the doors are wired.
Right, and they're pinned, literally pinned at the top and the bottom closed. So it's very difficult to get those doors open, or without the key or from the inside. And like I said, you know, the buildings, the way these areas are set up is to keep people from coming from the out in, not from the in out, right? Because if you're coming from the in out, you've already been cleared. You've already, you know, you're supposed to be there essentially. You're not going to start from making sensors or start making sensors go off from the out in. Whereas whenever things are happening, you know, if there's an adversary trying to get a nuclear weapon, every classical adversary would come from the outside of the weapon storage area into the weapon storage area, you know. So that's the way the whole system is kind of just set up that way. As far as I understand it, you know, there are probably a lot more things that I don't know about, you know, and I am purposely avoiding some aspects of this. But I understand people's skepticism towards, you know, the whole security of these classified areas. But you also have to understand most people that are there are supposed to. Everyone that is there is supposed to be there. There are multiple layers of security for you to get through in order to get into this building, and these areas were not set up for shadow people or for beings to just pop in and pop out wherever they want to, you know. And so the sensors are not set up for that kind of thing, especially and if people don't particularly understand that there is no cameras inside of the building, well, we were also not allowed to have cameras on our phones while we're inside of the building or in the side of the weapons storage area. And this is back when iPhone had just started coming in out with phones on their cameras. And you would either have to paint over it or break the camera on your phone. Part of the fear of having TVs or cameras, or not TVs, part of the fear of having cameras inside that classified area is, you know, if that gets leaked for whatever reason, you know, you don't want that information to be let out at all, or to be used against you, essentially.
Very understandable. Very understandable. And you know, one of the things that I want to ask is, while you were chasing this, was it the size of a human being? Was it a little bigger? Was it a little smaller?
It was a little bigger than a human being. It looked fairly thin, or at least, you know, my kind of stature. I'm not a very big man. I'm 5'4", and I've estimated this thing to be about 6 foot tall, 5'10", 6 foot. somewhere in there. And it's just kind of an average build, you know. It wasn't too thin, it wasn't too thick. I know people have looked at my drawing and kind of thought that, oh, well, you made your drawing kind of thick and, you know, short looking. Well, that wasn't my intention. I'm just a really bad drawer.
Okay, so the fact that this thing had incredible speed to just stay ahead of you and then take off and disappear. I mean, at first you thought you were chasing a person, correct?
I honestly did not know what I was chasing because that was not any person that I had ever seen or anything that I had ever seen a person using. You know, these are bays that are very well lit. It's really difficult to work on nuclear weapons and nuclear weapon stuff when you can't see what you're doing. And I always liked to have the lights on because I don't like the dark. You know, it's kind of creepy being in that base by myself or in that specific area by myself. So I always had the lights on. There goes your tax dollars at work. So it was very clear that it was not a person, but it was in the shape of a person. And I think that was what kind of initially was my initial shock and why I kind of started, oh God, I better chase this thing, you know?
No kidding. No kidding. I want to ask you regarding this. You stayed silent on this as well, but at some point later on, how did you figure out it was a shadow person?
You know, and most of what I understand shadow people to be or used to be, I used to watch Ghost Hunters and all that, you know, the paranormal kind of stuff, you know, and they talk a lot about shadow people on there. And I have also been not part of, but I've done some ghost investigations in my hometown of El Paso. And, you know, there's shadow people experiences there. And so my association with shadow people was essentially just ghosts, you know, and I didn't know that's what I was seeing or not seeing back then in Whiteman, that shadow person. I kind of just, it was one of those things that I kind of just put out of sight, out of mind. And I didn't really chalk it up to anything other than just maybe I am going crazy, but I'm not going to tell anybody kind of deal, you know? Or maybe the base was on an Indian or a Native American burial ground for all I knew, you know? And so it wasn't until I had seen the report that George Knapp had done with the two security forces guys out in Nellis. I think it was at S2 that they had come across a shadow person there in a fairly sensitive area as well. And I kind of, that's where I connected the dots. I was like, well, you know, I guess I did kind of see something like that as well, you know? That's where I connected that from.
At any point, did you look into the extraterrestrial phenomena, whether because you had seen the orb, that it may have been an alien cloaking itself?
At that time, I didn't associate the two, really. Like I saw the orbs and then I saw the shadow person, and people also ask me as well, like, are the two kind of working in tandem with each other, or? And I would have to say no. They didn't happen, you know, within like a week of each other. They didn't happen, you know, at any coinciding with each other at any time. Now, of course, I didn't also go outside and look to see if there was a UFO or an orb up in the sky the night that I saw the shadow person as well. So maybe, but I personally cannot correlate the two, other than you know, just shadow people.
I know there's a bunch of questions that have piled up here, but I want to get to the third encounter that you had, which was another orange orb.
For this orb that I had seen, now to the west of the base, there is a national park, or like a forest, and that's where I would place this orb. And it didn't really do anything extraordinary other than just kind of blink a couple times and then it just disappeared. And I would say that of all the things that I've seen, that least impresses me as a UAP, but I also can't explain what it was, because things don't just blink and disappear,
Okay, so what time of year did this happen at?
This was in, I want to say, springtime of 2006. Late
How long?
springtime.
Okay, so how long in between that happening and the shadow person?
It had been a good 5-6 months between the two. And between the shadow person and the first orb was, a year or so. So there was no regular interval for me to kind of correlate the orbs with each other.
Now, were you the only one to see this second orb as well?
I'm sure the contractors had seen the orb. We were doing what was called free zone. Essentially, we opened up a section of our weapons storage area to let contractors work on some things in there. And in order for them to get that done without getting a classified area badge or a background check, or a classified background check, they're essentially monitored at all times by people, to include the security forces personnel. We kind of just supplement them doing sentry duty. And that's when I had seen it. I didn't notice anybody else had said anything. I did notice that there was somebody, or not notice, but I had heard somebody saying they had seen something up in the sky, but I didn't really follow it or follow up on it. It was kind of just, okay, whatever. I want to go home now, kind of deal. It wasn't. These are not things that I wanted to associate with, or I didn't want to be that guy that wearing the tinfoil hat kind of deal. So I have recently talked to a friend that has said he's seen some things, and I haven't really followed up with that yet either. I'm kind of milking that a little bit, kind of seeing what his experiences were. But I really didn't have anybody that I confided in. And again, especially that particular instance, for all I knew, it was a satellite. Of anything that could have looked like it was a satellite, it might have been a satellite for all I knew. And that's not really anything of significance. But again, it was something that it looked similar enough to the first experience I had that I couldn't really rule it out either,
I don't blame you either. I mean, the fact that this second one looked a lot like the first in color and everything, but this one was just sitting there almost observing. In the back of your mind, I mean, Air Force bases all have radar operations happening. I mean, you're obviously in a position that you're not going to be able to know that. But do you think, looking back on it, that of the two orbs that you saw, that radar was probably watching them in those areas?
If the radar was able to detect them, probably I'm sure they were able to pick them up, especially the second one that just hung out there for 10-15 seconds that I was looking at it. So and that was only that I had noticed it. It might have been there for 10 minutes. I just wasn't at that particular point in time.
Right. So here you have two orbs. You have a shadow person. Are you wondering what the hell is going on at this base?
It did kind of make me wonder a little bit. I had done a little bit of background check into the actual bomber group of Whiteman Air Force Base is the 509th Bomber Wing, which is also the same bomber wing that allegedly picked up the Roswell crash evidence. So I thought that was a little strange, and that it was also a former missile base. So there could be some correlations there as well. But other than that, not really, no.
Neither of these orbs affected your safety.
No. And again, it wasn't one of those threats or one of those things that I considered a threat. You know, it wasn't something coming towards me. It didn't look like it had a kind of weapon system on it that was being used, or, you know, it was just a dot in the sky and it disappeared. Okay, see you later.
Looking back on it, what do you think they were?
Those orbs, you know, there's so many different things that people think of these things. I had recently seen something on Twitter about somebody had an orb that they claimed were a Foo Fighter, and, you know, for all I know, maybe, but if these things were as big as I think they were, they couldn't have held much more than one or two people in them. You know, yes, the 509th also dropped the bombs on Japan, Goober. But I don't know, man. It's really difficult for me to kind of make even a guess. Really, just there are so many different things that they could be, you know, or they couldn't be. You know, they could be craft, they could be consciousness, they could be people that are experiencing astral body projections, they could be extra dimensional jellyfish, it could be, you know, who knows.
Have you seen any UFOs since then?
I have not, actually, and I do keep looking up quite consistently, but I've never seen another UFO after that, or UAP after that. Sorry.
Okay. So the idea that you had these experiences, and after they happened, maybe after your career in the Air Force, as we got about a minute to go here, did you think of talking to other people about them to see maybe they didn't witness those exact sightings, but had witnessed other things in the sky that were anomalous as well?
Yeah, I've talked to some people, not particularly about my experiences. I've always kind of just kept that in my hat. I didn't want to be that person, you know, one of those a leaker or that kind of thing. I can't say I've always really wanted to talk about it, because even now I still kind of, I don't want to talk about it, but I know that it's important, and I feel that it's important to get this issue out. And
well, hold your thought right there, because
sure.
we are going to go to a break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back with Adrian Reister, we're going to find out his thoughts on disclosure moving forward. Is it disclosure? Is it confirmation? Why is the Air Force silent? We'll get his opinion and more as we got Adrian Reister for another 30 minutes right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
All right.
So we got you for another 30.
Yeah.
Great job so far, dude.
Thank you.
Hi, 405er. How are you, buddy?
Guess people like my chairs, huh?
Yeah, that's Greg O'Brien. You only know he's smiling when he scowls. Hi, lovely
we just recently moved houses, so everything's kind of up in the air still.
Gong Show, how are you? Yeah, I'm thinking of putting my house up for sale here soon too. So
it's a good market right now.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they had on Whiteman Air Force Base. They have one of the planes that dropped one of the nukes on Japan. It's the Artiste is the plane that they have on Whiteman. I believe the Enola Gay is in the Smithsonian.
Right. Kira, no, I wish I was moving to Vegas. I'll be staying in my area here. Unless everything continues to go to hell up here, then I'll put in for refugee status. Gong Show, you're never hyped up on candy, man. You're just high on life, buddy. High on life.
Oh, MJ.
Gloria, I've emailed you back.
Get down. Get down. Yeah, she purrs pretty loudly.
That's all right. We don't mind that around here. We don't mind that. That is allowed. Okay, we got about a minute and a half.
All right.
Some people came in late and are wondering the names of your cats again.
Sure. MJ is one that jumps in my lap fairly regularly. Ronald is the other tabby around here somewhere. That one is Noodle. And Jack is our youngest cat, little baby boy.
Nice.
He's not so little. He's part Maine Coon. So yeah, he's not so little.
Race fan, you're in trouble for mentioning that Taco Bell is 5 minutes from your home. I want to remind people that UFO Con 2022 happens March 25th through 27th in San Francisco, California, right by the San Francisco International Airport. And Lynn Wallington and I will be speaking at that conference. And we'd love it if you guys came. My topic will be experiencers, The Forgotten Souls of Ufology. That is what I will be talking about coming up here very, very soon. Thank you to Thomas, R&R, Aussie Rob, Cat Chaser, and Obi Flett for the amazing super chats. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We're here 7 days a week for your listening ears. So let's make it happen right now. We go into the next half hour right now. You know, sometimes I absolutely hate this job of being in the middle of nowhere of British Columbia, broadcasting Spaced Out Radio. Because in my chat rooms, I have a bunch of Americans talking about how close Taco Bell is to their home. The closest Taco Bell to me is 2.5 hours away. That is a sin. It is horrible, vile, and I'm telling you, it is rude that my audience members tease me and taunt me with my addiction to Taco Bell. And here they are, rubbing it into the chat room. I don't like it. I don't like it. Hi there. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for listening in to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Very much appreciate taking the time to listen to this show, as we are here for you 5 days a week. And I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, Adrian Reister is here with us. We're talking UFOs, UAP, disclosure. Is it disclosure? Is it confirmation? We really don't know at this point, but Adrian, I want to say welcome back, and we welcome your cats back in the background because you are a cat collector.
Yeah, that's Ronald.
That is very okay. We like the cats around here. We do. We like the cats around here. All right. I want to ask you, I mean, being an experiencer, being a veteran of the United States Air Force, and seeing what's going on today, what do you think? Are we on the road to disclosure, or are we on the road to confirmation that the phenomena is real?
I think we're past confirmation at this point. You know, the Navy has already come forward and said they don't know what the hell these things are in the sky. They don't, you know, they can't confirm it's not us. They can't, you know, the only people that are silent are obviously the Air Force. And so I think we're on a road to disclosure, or at least the truth, you know, because with the truth, you can still have things that are not disclosed, that are still sensitive, or whatever the government wants to cover up, or, you know, or they still deem as sensitive, but we'd know what it was, right? Disclosure, I think, is probably not going to happen completely. And I think, again, that's just something that governments do. You know, they kind of feel they need to shield people, that kind of deal. I think we'll get closer to the truth, though. I think we'll eventually figure out what this thing is, or what the phenomenon is, because it could be multiple things. But yeah, man, hopefully disclosure. Confirmation, I think, has already happened.
I'm still stuck on that, Adrian. I don't know if I agree with you, and that's quite okay. We're allowed to have differing opinions here and have good conversation about it. And the reason why I don't think it is a disclosure instead of confirmation is the fact that, in my opinion, there is this giant UFO Pandora's box that agencies like the United States Air Force and the NSA, the NRO, the CIA, the FBI, and every alphabet agency in between are holding on to, because there are a lot of questions on the table that I think need to come forward and be answered before we get a full and true disclosure. And I am just steadfast on that, because I want to be able to see this stuff happen. I want to see it be creative. I want to see it, I want to know about Bob Lazar. I want to know about Roswell. I want to know about the Phoenix Lights, because I don't believe the Phoenix Lights were A-10 Thunderbolts dropping flares over the sky.
No,
I
they
want to
weren't.
know stories like yours, right? There's a lot of people
True.
who have some questions that need to be answered. And I think because of that, everything is on the table regarding this. It's not just the Nimitz or anything along those lines, or what David Fravor saw, or Alex Dietrich, or Ryan Graves, or anybody like that who is flying and trying to intercept these. This is where, I really think, you may call it a controlled disclosure, but I don't think that a full disclosure will ever happen. Because could you imagine if all of a sudden the government came out and said, by the way, we have alien bodies from Roswell? That's where it gets real, man. And I don't think they want to give that up.
I don't think so either. I think that's going to be the hardest thing, is bodies and, actual things they have, because then that would tell people that they've been lying to us for the past 75 years, and that's generally frowned upon. A government lying to, or even Department of Defense lying to blatantly to people, to their faces, and even going so far as to tell people, "Oh, you're crazy. This is not what you saw."
And that is my concern. Does the medium fit the message? And right now, I don't know if it does or not. And that bugs me. That bugs me, because I think that they are trying to control the narrative through a very, very ignorant mainstream media. And we've seen that the last 4 years. I think that's what they need to do. I think it's very controlled, very contrived, and very well conceived. What do you think on the media setup?
I don't particularly watch mainstream media myself anymore. I haven't watched mainstream media for quite a while, actually. I do my own research. I look up my own articles. I follow certain people, especially people that have differing viewpoints from myself. You can't just listen to people that you only agree with. You have to listen to people that don't agree with you. That way you have an ability to shape your own thoughts around that. You have something constantly not attacking, but constantly reinforcing your own beliefs, or taking down something that, hey, you know what? That really wasn't the correct thing. That wasn't the truth. So, like I said, mainstream media is not, I don't particularly agree with myself anymore. Like I follow certain people, and that's just what I do.
Where do you think this is all going to go?
Eventually, I was going to say what I would like it to go. Would it probably end up going? I know we have the Gillibrand thing coming out. Every October 31st, we should be getting a new report, but I don't particularly feel confident in those reports, because the guy in charge of them doesn't know what a UAP is, essentially. So I don't really have a whole lot of confidence there.
Right. Right. Okay. So do you think what we are seeing right now is good for the public?
Currently, yes. I would say yes. It is good for the public. We need to get the ball continually rolling, um, or at the very least, the topic needs to stay hot because if it gets cold, I think we'll end up like Blue Book. It'll go the way of the dodo, shuffled or shelved for another 10, 15 years.
Okay. With your military experience and people who you have talked to about this, why do you think there is such a resistance in other people from from say your rank when you served on down and on up on coming forward with what they've seen? Not everybody has a military pension that they need to worry about.
hmm hmm
So why not talk?
It's a stigma. Um, it's a society stigma, really. People don't like being called crazy. They don't like being viewed as crazy. And there are people that, there's a lot more people out there that don't believe in the phenomenon. They don't believe in UAP, or, they have their own belief system that doesn't include UAPs or doesn't jive with it anyway. And so you have these people making fun of them. Oh, well, you believe in this. Well, you must be stupid or you must be gullible, right? You're not particularly trustworthy or you're crazy. There's always that stigma that is associated with, oh, well, you're a UFO guy? Okay, well, here's your tinfoil hat kind of deal, And I can see why people wouldn't come forward and relate their experiences because I get called crazy. I understand. I understand what I saw and my experiences are. It's mind-boggling. I think it's crazy, and I have to continually say, or not continually, but evaluate myself every time. You're like, did I really see that? Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. That kind of deal. It's just society stigma, man. Society stigma.
Even with everything that's going on and that people are coming out and we have fighter pilots that have come out, granted they haven't been from the Air Force, the Army, or the Marines yet.
Right. I think it's becoming less stigmatized as more people are learning about this, because as UFO Twitter and all these other various places that people talk about UAPs is getting larger and more people are becoming included, more people are learning about this phenomenon, and I feel it's becoming more easily approachable with people that don't know what you're talking about. So it's only a matter of time, like how comfortable people feel, really.
True. Where do you see this going over the next few years? Do you see speaking out a lot more about this? Do you feel that it is a role that you need to accept to tell your fellow airmen and airwomen that it is okay to talk about what you saw?
I mean, yes, no. I'm not in this for personal gain or glory or to be a hero or anything. I mean, obviously, if people want to talk, I'm open. I'm willing to talk to people. If you have your own experiences, by all means, reach out, talk to whoever you want. I don't particularly see myself leading this thing, but if that's what ends up happening, then that's what ends up happening. I'm not going to say no, but I also want to stress that I'm not the only one, and there are lots more people probably behind me.
No, I can understand that. But if you could say anything to fellow veterans of any branch of the military, not only in the United States, but where I am in Canada and elsewhere in the world, what would you like them to know? What would you want to tell them?
It's not as scary as you think it is. Yeah, it is pretty scary about talking about your experiences sometimes. And especially if you were in high areas of, classified areas, as long as you honor your NDAs and you don't break anything that you're supposed to break, then you're fine, man. Like, talk about your experiences. If you feel comfortable talking about it, please, by all means.
All right.
Go
ahead. Finish up, please.
Yeah, just talk about what's going on. It's better to let people know what's going on, because eventually the truth is going to come out anyway, I think. Eventually.
All right. We've got about 8.5 minutes left with you here. And, there's still a lot to go over. Let's get to Gloria's question here. Do you think, Adrian, that the military knows what's going on with the missing 411 people?
I'm not sure what the missing 411 is.
Well, these are people, cases that are investigated by a gentleman named David Politis.
Okay.
And these are people who vanish without a trace, mainly in national parks.
Probably not. And I would say they probably not, because they would, I can't, this is my own opinion. There's a lot of technology out there. If they really wanted these people to show up, they would, I don't think they would keep people out, or they would, I don't think they would have a reason for that, So if they knew what was going on, I'm sure they would. I would have to familiarize myself more with the missing 411 to speak more about it.
Not a problem. Do you believe that the military is holding on to a lot more information regarding UAP than playing the "we don't know what it is" card?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Well, do you think the U.S. military knows a lot more about UAP than pleading ignorance the way they are in the public eye?
I think they do to a certain extent, but I also think they're still in the dark. I don't think they know the whole story. They know more than what they let on, but I don't think they know everything.
What do you think they're missing?
I would say I think they're missing probably just, I think they might have craft or physical evidence. I don't think they have the means to communicate with this phenomenon, or there's no dialogue going on.
Do you think that we do have craft from other civilizations?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Archaeological evidence has suggested it. There's too many incidences of military showing up after crashes, alleged crashes, and them taking pieces and rocks and stuff away. So I think they have something. I'm not sure what they have, obviously. But it's in my opinion, they have something physical. I'm probably sure it's a craft. I don't think they have anything biological. And if it is, it's probably subjective, or at least it's anomalous, that they can't tell what the biological is, just that it's not us. And again, they haven't made that connection between what is, or they haven't made like a dialogue, or they haven't been able to communicate with this phenomenon, whatever is going on.
Do you think the phenomena is dangerous for the people of this planet, or do you think we're mature enough for it?
And again, this is my own opinion. I wouldn't say that we're not immature for it or mature for it. But I believe we all deserve the truth, regardless.
What is your truth? What is the truth, in your opinion?
Man, there are so many things that it could be. I personally, and again, this is I follow along the lines of, or not follow along the lines, but I kind of follow John Ramirez in saying that, embrace widely and hold lightly. And these are things that I hold very lightly. And I'm ready to throw them away whenever, there's evidence to disprove them. But I kind of think these are, if not extra universal, or what people call ultra universal, maybe ultra dimensional beings, maybe even, probably from another, like an alternate Earth. There's even, if he is to believed, John Ramirez, if they are saurian or whatever, it would kind of track with, if there was not a meteor that had destroyed the dinosaurs, they would have millions and millions and millions of years to develop their technology. What's to say they are not experimenting with, other universes? So that could be a thing. And this is, like I said, pretty out there stuff, and I don't really hold it very tightly. I could be wrong.
We have 90 seconds left with you tonight. You say that you are going to take this as it goes and as it happens. All right. And if people want to talk to you about this, they can. If they don't want to talk to you about it, that's fine too. But you feel it's important to continue to head out and talk to people about UAPs. With 1 minute to go, what do you want people to know about your side of the conversation?
My side of the conversation, I like to educate myself, really. I listen to all these other podcasts. I listen to, science podcasts. I listen to science news. Like just yesterday, I posted something on Twitter about particles and wave theories, if they're the backbone of reality, essentially. And, if anything, I'm somebody that with an open mind, essentially. And I like listening to different aspects of life. I like to listen to people.
Right. I don't blame you. Adrian, I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I know that you're still not used to the idea of talking publicly about your own sightings from Whiteman Air Force Base, but in the subject, but you did awesome tonight. And thank you for explaining your story to our listeners.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Adrian Reister, everybody. You can follow him on Twitter by going to Adrian Since 84. Check him out there. Coming up next, we're going to go into the swamp. We are going to bring in Bigfoot Rob for the report and Dave 101 coming up next. All right, man, we're clear. Great job.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, you were awesome. You were awesome. I really appreciate Thomas allowing us to get in touch with you regarding this and to have you on our show. It really meant a lot, man.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun being here, man.
Right on. Right on. I will let you get to bed because I got to get ready for my news and everything and the hour 3. But let us reconvene some other time very soon.
Sure. Yeah, man. Cool.
And if you ever want to come back on, let me know.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. You take care.
You too.
Good night.
Good night.
Man, I enjoyed him. Really enjoyed him. It's pretty fantastic. Very much appreciated him and his time. Tonight's topic for, let me just check something here. Hold on. Let me just go like this. Hold on. I feel like so behind right now. I don't know why. I don't know why. Tonight, we are going to be talking about proof on the Dave 101. Proof. I think it's an important subject. We brought it up a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I want to talk about that. Excalipurful, thank you very much for that stunning super chat. Really do appreciate that. Look how beautiful Bigfoot Rob is looking right now. He's got the. Does that not look like Hulkamania 2072 right there? Hulkamania 2072.
Well, thank you, Dave.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm hoping that these solar flares, don't flare up again. I've been working hard on this.
I hope they do. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
That means Dave is going to have northern lights.
Oh, very good. Well, if I get them, I'll be like I'll be talking like one of those Bruce Lee movies, like a couple weeks ago. I think I got it squared away. I had to rob from Peter to pay Paul, so my video isn't as great, but I hope the audio is coming through spot on.
Dude, you were looking like Hulkamania 2072. That's all that matters to me. All that matters to me.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Much love.
That was a great show. Great show.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you very much. What was I going to do here? Okay, I got that. Oh, yes. I was going to go over here. Set up the transfer accounts.
Yeah, so it was like it's been a crazy week with these solar flares, and a couple of days ago, man, I think I knocked out something in my tooth, right? Like
oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so a couple of days go by, and I said, man, I got to call the dentist and go because my whole right side of my face was like on fire. So as it turns out, I need a root canal. He can't get me until next week. So the right side of my head feels like an ice pick is being jammed in it. As we speak.
Nice.
as we speak, and I'm taking this medication, which it's like dulling it. But every time I talk and listen, my head pounds. I had to do a show an hour and a half today, and I suffered through that. And then I found out I was going to come on emergency duty. So I said, you know what? I can do 15 or 16 minutes for Dave tonight.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. We got about a minute and a half here.
Yeah, okay, Filthy. I'll get a drawing from you.
Yeah. Yeah, Filth is going to be busy down in Las Vegas doing drawings for so many people. Thin Lizzie's going to be there. Bigfoot Michigan Rob's going to be there. All right. Yeah, he's going to be walking down Fremont Street after a couple of beers. Yeah. What you going to do when Bigfoot Mania runs wild on?
I got to get me some more bandanas. I got like 24. I got to get some new ones. I'm geeked for that, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm geeked.
I'm so pumped up for it, dude. So pumped up for it. All right, we got about 20 seconds. Thank you to Excalibur, Thomas, R&R, Aussie Rob and his Ham Hawks, Cat Chaser, and Obi Flett for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. Big thank you to all the veterans out there who tuned us on in. You always got a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio in our chat rooms. And here we go with the final hour, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. And thanks to the listeners in our chat room, I am totally craving Taco Bell right now, which is an impossible task. But blame them. Blame them if I sound a little hangry right now. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, make sure you check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free once again at YouTube, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Vafris. Vafris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam has set the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Check us out on social media, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again to head into the swamp, where our resident storyteller, Swamp Dweller, joins us with another spooky, strange story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. For context, I've lived most of my life bouncing between Pennsylvania's Corn Ocean area and the popular mountain tourist destinations to the northeast. Those who have lived or visited those general areas may be aware of the peculiarities of Pennsylvania roads. Firstly, that they are horribly managed, and secondly, these roads see a lot of death. Roadkill is a problem just about anywhere with motorists, but I hardly go a single day without seeing mangled deer carcasses. Most deer here are pretty and well-mannered, which is probably why it's particularly disturbing to see fawns with crushed skulls, or does with their entrails dragged upwards of 10 yards down the highway. However, wildlife gore isn't the specific sort of death I was obsessed with growing up. My thing was looking out the window and finding crosses, markers left for those killed on or near the road, typically from car accidents. There's one not far from me that has the word Jessica written in a bubble font on magenta painted wood. Hers has been there as far back as I can remember. I'm in my early 20s now, but someone still tends to it and occasionally brings flowers and places photos around it. Honestly, I've always found it heartwarming that Jessica is loved, even now. Many crosses I've come to expect on my daily routes have become worn, knocked over, and just generally abandoned. I realize there probably isn't anyone left to take care of them, but it is still sad to know that these crosses that symbolize someone else's loved one are now lost to decay and rot. Disheartening as that is, at least I can mentally distance myself from it. If you pushed it far away, it's easy to pretend that death is not part of living. Although I was rather abruptly forced to acknowledge it a few times in my childhood. Once, on a dark summer night, a family friend was driving me back to my mom's following a long road trip we had taken. It's about a 2-hour ride, and being an annoying 12-year-old, I didn't even try to sleep, which meant I was looking out the window, watching the tree line along the highway. We soon came upon a blocked lane and the flashing lights of an ambulance and police. I watched, sort of shocked, as a person that had a sheet drawn over them was hauled into the back of an ambulance. The adult driving quickly assured me that the man was going to be just fine, and that was the end of the discussion. I'm feeling pretty sure that was my first dead person experience outside of a funeral. Despite the distance and the reassurance of my family friend, there was no obvious gore, and while I do remember seeing a damaged vehicle, it was only a little smashed up on the nose, and alongside the driver's side. Overall, probably not something that should have left a big enough impression on me that I still think about it to this day. And perhaps I wouldn't have, if it didn't happen in combination with my first experience with road hallucinations. It was a good hour down the line after I saw it. I was nearly home to my mom when the road began to shift and undulate. I mentioned it to the driver, who told me I was just tired, and it was a common mirage. To my initial amusement, I began to see figures scrawled out on the surface of the road, like 2D cartoons. I began to describe it to the family friend, the many dragons and sweeping humanoids I was seeing in these dizzying little patterns, laughing and occasionally staring a bit as the visions grew more vivid. The friend driving me told me to stop looking at the road if it was scaring me. I, of course, didn't listen. Suddenly I saw a very pale, translucent figure in front of us about 15 yards away. It was low to the ground and appeared to be a person resting on its belly. I watched as it began to rush towards us. Now, clearly legless, but crawling at a breakneck pace with its arms. It jumped on the hood of the car. Its face pocketed with empty sockets, like black voids. I screamed out loud, and then it was gone. I got reprimanded for hollowing and screaming and scaring the driver. I stopped looking at the road and happily walked into my mother's home when we arrived. Even though I told her all about my visit with my dad and my trip, including the weird illusions I saw, telling my mom didn't stop me from plugging an old nightlight in the wall before going to bed and hiding under my blankets. That was also the first and last time I saw such a vivid mirage while in the car or otherwise. It's hard to describe just how very real this event felt to me, even though it happened so quickly. I still can picture its body and face moving towards me on that highway. Rationally, I know it was a trick of the mind. I still love long road trips, especially if I'm not driving and get to watch the scenery. However, I do not try to stare too long at the dark asphalt these days.
And we want to say a big thank you to Mr. Swamp Dweller for coming on in and hanging on out with us tonight to give us another spooky story. You can check him out at Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube. So youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Let's get to the Cryptid Report with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Filling in for the vacationing and superb Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio, we have Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Brunch with Bigfoot, his podcast on YouTube with Big Tex. And we love him around here. You know, he's wearing the yellow bandana. He looks like Hulk Hogan right now. He's got the jowls, and he's ready to kind of spring into action in the squared circle of the cryptid world. Big Rob, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, but my jaw is like on fire from this tooth pain I'm going through. But you know what, Dave? Anything for you, for your terrestrial audience, and the lovely people on YouTube watching in chat.
Absolutely love it, man. That's a way to take one for the team right there. That's Stanley Cup playoff hockey right there,
Absolutely.
Rob.
Yes. Well, my wings will be there in a couple years yet.
Couple decades, but that's another story. That's another story.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're not the all Russian team anymore.
Yeah, I know, and that makes me happy.
Thank you.
That makes me happy. My Vancouver Canucks, by the way, are turning into the Swedish American connection. I don't even think they know what Canadian hockey players are anymore. Well, see, now you're going to get me on this giant rant, and I don't want to go on a hockey rant right now, because Tom Rennie, the guy who runs Hockey Canada,
yeah,
all right, he loves participation badges.
Okay,
he loves it. He's never won anything in his hockey career outside of a couple of silver medals. All right, did nothing when he coached in the NHL. Did nothing, and now we have to literally watch him ruin Hockey Canada because he loves participation badges. And he's taught Canadian hockey players that it's okay to lose. As long as you have fun and you get your shifts in, it's okay to lose. All right. No, it's not. This is our game. It's our game. You can't do that. It's terrible.
Yes, Dave, we could do a whole show on that. Participation badges, forget it. It's about winning. Let's face it.
Life is about winning, people. Life is about winning and losing. And trust me, I am somebody who has lost way more than I have won in life. Way more. Right? Got to toughen up.
Absolutely.
Got to toughen up. Throw a couple of body checks. Get out there.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get to the cryptid world. What's happening around? What kind of reports do you get for us?
Well, actually, when I knew I was going to come on today, I did another. I've got, like I say, a couple sources that I've been getting, which I really trust, and it's taken me a long time to develop the relationship over the last 3 years. A couple sources here in Michigan. And so since we're doing the report, I'm Michigan Rob. I'm going to tell you about a couple here. One was in Clare, Michigan, a county. This was the police had reported. Now, this is the actual police. They're driving through Clare County, Michigan in a subdivision. And it's really not a subdivision out here. It's like there's one house for every 50 yards. So they hear gunshot blasts echoing down this main road. So they proceed down the road, and lo and behold, there's a guy firing off rounds with his shotgun. They ask the guy what he's doing. He says, "You're not going to believe this, and I'm not shooting at an actual animal. It's not a deer. It's not a bear." He told him flat out, "I think it's a Bigfoot. It's something tall. It's about 9 foot tall, hairy, and it's running 50, 60 feet back and forth." So, of course, when the police are there, they look at him kind of strangely and asked him, had he been drinking, yada, yada, put him through the riot act. So they went into the neighborhood, certain neighbors within, again, 50 yards. And they said, "Yeah, that's Charlie. Charlie claims that there's Bigfoot in the area, and he's out there hunting them down and everything like that. We just think he's kind of out there." One neighbor, though, at the end of the block, or at the end of the stretch of homes, had mentioned that, the last several months they have heard certain sounds that were not natural emanating from the tree line. So who knows about that? It's Clare County, Michigan, and that's where we have there. Here's another interesting, too. This has actually happened in Alcona, Michigan, the county, and this is about a peeping Tom. There was a couple reported in their living room, looking out through their living room window, and the wood line is probably backs up like 90 feet from the living room window. And they seen in the distance something kind of peering back and forth, kind of to the left, to the right, moving forward. Got closer, closer, and closer. And then they seen a head come out from the side of a tree with glowing yellow eyes. And the husband and wife, again, they utter the words, "We think that's like a Bigfoot creature or something." And he knew it was about 9 feet tall because he had a bird box that was mounted on the tree about 7 foot up from the base of the tree. And this thing, the head was at least 2 feet above that. And in the same county, within the 2 days, a woman was in her kitchen doing dishes and looked up from doing the dishes, and she saw yellow eyes, literally feet from the window, and dropped her dishes, and of course called the police, and they came out. No avail, no footprints or anything was in the area. So these were 2 accounts within a couple days of each other of a possible Bigfoot sighting, and of course the other guy blasting off his shotgun shells in a county about 50 miles north. How much time do I got?
Oh, you got lots of time, bud.
Okay, cool. His last one. Now, anybody, this one here has really got me. This is in Wexford County. I mentioned this on the show before, Dave, that Wexford County is the capital for Dogman. Now,
Right.
Okay. The man's at his home. He's got a couple acres of property. Tree line backs up to the rear of the house, maybe 50 yards. He has 3 dogs and has one of those electronic fences. So when the dogs, they can't, once they hit a certain area, it kind of zaps them, but not inhumanely, just where they know not to travel any further. So it's his way of making sure that they don't venture off into the woods behind him. And he lets them out all the time. So he has 3 dogs. One night, about midnight, lets his 3 dogs out. Now, his dogs, they're not real big barkers. If the mailman comes by, they'll bark. If a guest comes by, they'll bark. But then it's only for a couple seconds, then they stop. They're pretty tame. They might bark at a deer, and he even made mention that even the deer that come through, they're used to. They don't even pay any attention to them anymore. So he lets these 3 dogs out, and they're barking very unusually, right? And he just can't get over it. He goes, "What in the world is going on out there?" So he goes out to investigate. He takes a flashlight with him. Whatever the dogs' names were, Sadie, Johnny, and Timmy. "What's going on, fellas?" And they're looking at him strangely, and they keep looking into the tree line. So he shines his light in the tree line. "Fellas, boys, I don't see anything." So he turns around. Now he prompts his dogs to come back in his house with him. They don't want to come back in the house. They want to investigate what's going on. I mean, in his mind, there's nothing there, but he did find it highly unusual, their barking. So he goes back in the house. He says about 5 minutes later, these dogs start barking frantically. They're almost growling, and he said he's never even heard them growl. And then the pit in his stomach just turned.
Oh, my.
2 of the dogs started like whimpering. One of the dogs, you heard like a yelp. He went outside. The 2 dogs ran beeline right into the house, but he had 3 dogs, as I made mention of. Couldn't find the 3rd dog. And I'm a dog lover, man. And this story, he's looking for his dog. Now he knows, as I made mention earlier, the electronic fence, so they cannot escape that perimeter. So he's looking all within the perimeter of the fence. Cannot find his dog. He's yelling out to his dog, "Sadie, Sadie." So he says, well, he had a strange feeling. So he went past the fenced area, and proceeded into the woods. He travels into the tree line. Says he gets about 90, 100 feet up into the tree line, into the forest, finds his dog. The thing about it, it didn't appear as though it was attacked by anything, because the strangest thing about this, and people listening, the dog was severed right in half. Razor cut. Not jagged, not chewed on, not clawed at or torn apart. It was cut like in half, like you would take a block of meat with a butcher knife and slam it. And this is also in wintertime. Snow is on the ground. Very little blood. Now, maybe, of course, it got coagulated because of the cold winter snow, the air. I don't know. I don't know. Called in a report, obviously called the police, and so that's all I have on that. I haven't had any follow-up on that because that happened most recently. And as I had made mention, the only thing that I thought of Wexford County, dog man, incisors for nails, a quick whap. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide on that one. But very sad story. And again, it kind of touches me because I am a dog lover, and that's a way to find your animal, man.
Man, I don't know if I've heard Dogman do that. I've heard them ripping things apart. I mean, that almost sounds more alien, dude.
You know, I made reference to Wexford because of the Dogman capital. What you were saying does sound kind of alien because, you know, those aliens cut those rocks, those precision rocks without mortar. I think I talked to that on the show the other day. I mean, yes, that sounds more like that than an animal. I don't even think, number one, as you said, I've never heard of a dog man do that. But the precision, it's just, to me, it lends my thought toward alien as well.
Do we know if there was any footprints around, if it was in the snow?
You know, in the report, the man did look around, found nothing. There was no footprints.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
That totally sounds alien.
Well, what he did find, you know, there were footprints all in the fenced-in area with the electronic fence. Outside of the perimeter, he did make mention of no prints because I guess that's a question that was asked, which I was reading in a report, which would have been great of me to bring up, by the way. But no prints, nothing. Even around the dog itself, there was no prints. Just a little spattering of blood, which seemed to have been dried up. And of course, I've heard of encounters too with aliens sucking the blood out of certain things as well. So you would think there'd be a lot more blood. I don't care how cold it is.
Now, the footprints that he did see in his yard, were they all just the dog's prints?
His dogs, yes.
But nothing else?
Like, no, there were the dog's prints, and they were all haphazardly about the yard as they were like running around in frantic circles back and forth and such. So, but past that fence line, nothing by the dog in the woods either.
That is just freaky. To me, that sounds completely extraterrestrial. Completely extraterrestrial.
And even if it was just a disgruntled neighbor, a human, not even a human footprint. The only prints was him going back and forth. That was it. Nothing.
My goodness. My goodness. That is a horrible, horrible story. And you know, we've heard of these mutilations before with cattle, with horses, with goats. I could see where it would happen with a dog too.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob. It's a quick one, but a good one. We say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio, sharing these latest reports regarding Sasquatch and other cryptid encounters that cannot be explained. Quickly, 10 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
Sure, you can find us at Texas Front Porch. We have 3 shows, the third one coming to you. And also Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob, kind of a spinoff of Texas Front Porch. We're kind of interrelated moving forward. So Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob. Just type it out. You'll find it. Subscribe. That would be great. Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you to chat, and everybody's going to listen later.
Thank you, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, on the Cryptid Report, filling in for Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio. Coming up next, we have the Dave 101 Shirky Poo's News. We'll try and jam in the thought of the Dave as well. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. Great stories tonight, buddy.
Thanks,
story.
man. And my head is pounding, man. I lost my train of thought. It hurt so hard, but it hurt so bad. See what I'm saying? So I'm sorry for that, but yeah, thanks. That was there was something I wanted to share with you in real quick. We were talking about the BFRO. You've done it on your show. Here's something I want you to think about real quick. This guy was telling me, for every 5.19 Bigfoot reports taken in the state is by a motorist reporting an actual Bigfoot sighting in the state. 1 of every 7 Bigfoot reports taken by a motorist reporting out actual Bigfoot sighting in the state involves a witness in a parked motor vehicle. This is what the BFRO is telling this friend of mine, and he wants to know how come the BFRO is not even reporting these minimal past incidents. And their response is this, Dave. They ask, why do you find these old reports as being important? My friend replies, it's past and part of a prologue, and it is data. It is data points. As simple as the encounter sounds, they're being omitted, skewing everything, hindering research, hindering what we all do in the cryptid world. And that's just another, as far as I'm concerned, way that I'm pushed away from these people called the BFRO, omitting reports now about simple encounters because they don't have enough meat. Ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. That's why we need someone out there, and I think it would be a conglomerate of people. And Rob, I think when we're in Las Vegas, we got some pretty brilliant minds around there. Nate Rudd will be there. You'll be there. Carter Burchart is going to be there as well. And I think we need to sit down and see if it would be feasible in starting another website up to bring in these proper reports that are being ignored by the BFRO. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I agree too, Dave, because it just makes me sick, because it's just like there's things going on that's not being reported, and it just does everybody a disservice. It really does. The casual person, the staunch explorer, researcher, and even a guy that does a podcast, a show, whatever. It just stinks for everybody.
Really does. Rob, I'm going to let you go get some rest here, buddy.
Yeah,
thank
thanks
you so
a lot.
much. And
nope,
we love you,
buddy.
We love you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. See you, chat.
Take care.
People listen. All right.
What a trooper Bigfoot Michigan Rob is. What a trooper for hanging on out with us. Wow, what a story. What a story. By the way, 105 years ago today, 3 brave men fought El Guapo at the Battle of Santa Poco to give Mexico its independence. God bless the 3 amigos. Good morning, Body Tech. How you doing? Super Quest, good to see you. Yes, hunters will do that. but they usually use rope or chain. They don't just like hang them off a tree. I want to say a big thank you tonight to Excalibur Full, Thomas, R&R, Ozzy Rob, Cat Chaser, and Obi Flett for the amazing super chats tonight. Good evening, Ross Lambda. We really love and appreciate the support that you guys give us on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio. Remember, March 25th to 27th, I will be in San Francisco along with Lynn Wallington for UFO Con 2022. If you want to go, tickets are at UFOCon2022.com, where you can come hang on out with us. We'd appreciate it. And of course, the SOR Vegas party, April 22nd to 24th. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the week where I give my opinion on a topic du jour on the Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Now, I know over the course of this show, many of you have heard me discuss this topic, but it's time to get a little bit more in depth with it. And that is proof. What is proof? Look, for many of us, proof is different. Your proof is different than mine. It's just like witnessing a car accident. I'm going to see something completely different than what you are going to record in your own memory. Every field that we have here has their own proof. Proof of Sasquatch, proof that it's a monkey, proof that it is a supernatural type being, proof of UFOs, proof of alien abduction. However, what we see in the UFO community right now, especially, and that's kind of where I'm going to focus on, is the idea of we don't have proof. There are people out there who are sick and tired of anecdotal evidence. They don't want the stories anymore. They want the evidence. Evidence such as video, quality video, not something blurry that you can't tell if it's a UFO, a bug, or even a Chinese lantern. And for those people, they are right. They are absolutely right. We need more. But here's the problem. If you put out quality evidence, this field will absolutely rip you apart. Take, for instance, the Patterson-Gimlin film of Sasquatch. Now, I know we're talking UFOs here, but I'm going to bring this up. It's been over 50 years, and the Gimlin family and the Patterson family are still haunted by that Bigfoot video. Not because of the Sasquatch. No, not at all. It's the community around them who calls them liars, cheaters, fakers, suit makers, and the support gets drowned out by the skeptics and the trolls that just want to try and bring everything down. We need to be able to be a little bit more accepting of anecdotal evidence. If we're going to conduct an opinion poll here on whether or not things should be counted, we should be doing it the exact same way as a court of law. Now, not many of us are lawyers. Not many of us have that type of experience. But we know that the court of law, even though they still get some things wrong, and the odd time convict an innocent person, the majority of the time, they are right. The majority of time, they can accept eyewitness accounts, along with that shady, grainy video. I mean, look, we can take a clear shot of the moon, yet every bank in North America and probably the world still uses the worst security cameras ever. Yet that footage is good enough to help commit and convict somebody of a robbery. Why don't we hold that as a standard right here in the UFO community? No, instead, we want to break people down. We want to call them liars. We want to call them fakers, cheaters, whether it's for publicity, podcasts, you name it. Maybe even money. Lord knows there isn't a lot of money in this field. But we do it because we love it. The idea that proof needs to be a clear video doesn't cut it. Proof being a clear photograph doesn't cut it. We've seen that with the videos that we have received over the last couple of years regarding UFOs. Now, whether you like or dislike the To the Stars Academy, and I was very, very much and staunch against the TTSA, their videos were good enough for me to try and put things together. I liked their videos. In fact, in one of the videos, I have a listener named Joe who caught something that looked exactly similar to one of the gimbal films. Right over his house, clear photo. Does that mean it's faked? Are they the same craft? Now, that doesn't tell us whether it's UFO, as in from aliens, or whether it's a United States Air Force or Black Project experiment. But as long as it's a UFO, we can call it that. But we always demand more. Do we know what that more is? I remember I have a ghost picture that this little known paranormal investigator in Ontario said, that thing's fake. And I said, no, it's not. And we got into an online argument, which I shouldn't have, because that was a waste of time. And he said, did you send it anywhere? I said, yes. I've had some very incredible people look at this photo, and they claim it's real. Because he didn't know who those people were, David Weatherly, Butch Witkowski, to name two. He said, I'm the only one who can determine whether or not this is real. So until you show me it, I don't believe you. It's fake. That's what we're dealing with. That's exactly what we're dealing with in the entire phenomena. That is what we need to stop. But look, the skeptics and the people who are sick and tired of anecdotal evidence do have very strong reasoning to be sick of it. Why? Too many people recording CGI. You go on YouTube, at least 98% of the videos there are faked or hoaxed. Why? Because people want clicks. They want their posts on social media like Instagram, TikTok. It's all for popularity and stature in social media. Social media is what has ruined the actual proof. And it's terrible because it's leading a lot of people down a road that they don't need to go down. We need to be a little bit more believable, but we also need to be a little bit more skeptical with what is put in front of us. We can't believe everything that we see right in front of us. We have to have a discerning mind on what is real and what is fake. Your own experiences, you have to try and write them down. You have to try and bring them to as much as you can of painting a picture so that way somebody else can understand what you saw. And you have to stay away from places like YouTube, Twitch, Odyssey, wherever it may be, BitChute, Rumble, any of those video places, because the fakers are all over the place. They don't care about UFOs. CGI is becoming so realistic, it's hard to tell what is real and what is fake anymore. All right. Bigfoot always has some sort of suit, and those people are getting 35,000, 50,000, 100,000, a million views. Do you know what you get paid for a video that gets a million views per month? You get a lot of money. And that's why they do it. But what it has done is it's turned a very good and smart phenomena and researchers in phenomena into highly skeptical, overzealous, and unbelieving people. And it's too bad. Because if you can't trust the anecdotal evidence, if you can't trust the videos unless you shoot them, if you can't trust the photographs because you didn't take it, if you can't trust the audio from paranormal investigation, then what do you have? You have absolutely nothing. I try and see the silver lining in all of this. That's what we do here. We tell those stories. We want to hear those stories, those firsthand accounts of people having some amazing experiences. I'm just as enthralled in hearing somebody's story the same way as I am and was 7 years ago when I started this show. People want to tell their stories. People want to be believed on what has happened to them. We have to give them that opportunity. However, in a community that is so rough and tough, and it doesn't matter whether you're on Facebook in an experiencers group, or you are on Twitter, or wherever it may be, or even you get invited onto a podcast, there's always going to be someone who tries to break it down and tries to ruin your spirit. What for? Why do we need why do we think of the idea that we need to attack people because you don't believe their story? It makes no sense. I personally have been called a liar a number of times about my own experiences because people either A, don't want to believe me, or B, they don't believe in the phenomena, or C, they think I'm doing it for money. I can tell you right now, without my experiences, there would be no spaced out radio. Do you think that I enjoy working 16 hours a day, my daytime job, and then night moonlighting in the position in my studio in my house? I can tell you right now, I'm not getting rich off of it. I'm just covering my bills. But that's for another day, another story. I'm not complaining because I enjoy what I do. And I have a very supportive background ahead of me and behind me that keep me moving. The fans ahead of me, my family and friends behind me. That's why we do what we do. It's not about the numbers, although the numbers do help you grow. It's about enjoying the experiences and talking to people about what they have eyewitnessed. We're allowed to enjoy this field. We're allowed to believe what we want to believe, and we're allowed to be just as cordial if we don't believe the story. Look, I have ran around a number of fakers on this show. People who have pulled the wool right over my eyes. A guy thinking a UFO is a street lamp, or a street lamp a UFO. Another guy who said that men in black would save him from being chased around by the government officials. And aliens would do that as well. You got to have a thick skin. You have to realize that there's a lot of people out there who are just doing this for their 5, 10, 12, 15 minutes of fame. But for the majority of people out there, they are there and they are here because they want answers to what happened to them. We should not be so harsh on the critique, and we should be a little bit more open and letting our ears do the listening before we start calling people liars, fakers, and cheats. And this is why I ask you, what is proof? Because everyone's proof is different. That's your Dave 101 for tonight. And on YouTube, if you want to leave a comment below after this is posted, we'd really appreciate it. Get your opinion, your thoughts. And now, let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Here we go, everyone. How about doing the right thing and then getting a massive bill for it? So there's this man who has been left with a huge medical bill after he donated his own kidney to someone else. Elliot Mallon was contacted by the mother of his cousin, 28-year-old Scott Klein, in order to find a donor match as he was in end-stage renal failure. Mallon and Klein considered themselves cousins, although their blood relationship is more distant than that. She contacted as many people as possible in hopes of finding a donor to help her son live. Klein wasn't yet on dialysis, but he was going to need the operation. The subject of the email stated, "Scott needs a kidney." It continued, "Thank you for considering it, but please don't feel any pressure to do it. Sorry, I have to share this burden, but the best potential match is family." Now, Mallon, who lives in Nevada, didn't need to think too hard about it, says, "Hey, if I can make my friend survive, I'm doing this. Totally doing this. And why not?" It's not clear what happened to Klein's kidneys, but he needed help and needed it badly. The hospital was amazing on trying to make everything as easy as possible for the two. So it happened. Living donors who are give their organs to others are not supposed to pay a bill. Yet, here it was. Due to a billing mistake, Mallon was billed a staggering $13,064 from North Star, a company that provides anesthesia, including Baylor, Scott & White, and All Saints. What's more, they threatened that the bill might go to collections if unpaid. However, after initially dismissing the bills following surgery, they became more belligerent and threatening, and references to delinquent payments and further collection activity, ruining the guy's credit for donating a kidney. Yeah, the CEO, Kate Stett, said in an email, "On behalf of North Star, I apologize for causing any confusion or concern to you regarding this matter and assure you that the bill has been resolved." Good. So beware, America. You're not like Canada here, where if you're going to go give a kidney or anything else, you just don't have a bill. All right, be careful. Bad news coming out of North Korea. Kim Jong-un has reportedly sent a group of gardeners to labor camps because their flowers failed to bloom in time. The North Korean dictator is said to have taken the decision after being informed that the Kim Jong-ilia begonias, a flower named after his late father, Kim Jong-il, would not be ready to mark the former leader's birthday. The flowers were set to be at a certain centerpiece for a huge celebration on the 16th of February, known as Day of the Shining Star. According to reports, a man in his 50s from Samsu County, identified as Han, was the manager of the greenhouse that grows the Kimilsungias and the Kimjongjilias, and was sentenced to 6 months in a labor camp. Kimjongjilias, yeah, you can't make this stuff up, which are also known as the immortal flower, were created by Japanese botanist Kamo Mototoru to mark Jong-il's birthday in 1988. However, since his passing in 2011, the flower has become much more significant. Last month, Han was ordered to make sure that the flowers were ready for a huge exhibition to mark both Day of the Sun, a day to mark North Korea founder Kim Jong-il's son's birthday, and the Day of the Shining Star. In order to make sure that the special flowers are grown correctly, the temperature and the humidity of the greenhouse had to be monitored carefully. However, due to a lack of firewood, this wasn't possible, and they failed to bloom in time. And the gardener now 6 months of hard time in the gulag. All right, time for one more here. A swimmer, this is why we don't go into the ocean, people. Stop going into the ocean. You will die. A swimmer was killed in the first fatal shark attack off of Sydney, Australia in almost 60 years, and he's a British man. 35-year-old Simon Nellis, engaged to be married, loved the water, went for a swim. He was an experienced diving instructor. Yep, that was until old Jaws down there decided, hey, free meal. Yep. They looked for his remains. They only found pieces of him. Pieces. They're still looking for more. However, it's not going to be in pieces. It's going to be in shark poo. It's the truth. Stay out of the ocean. Sharks are everywhere. It's their home, their place. I love the sharks. The ocean is no place for us. It only happened 150 meters from the beach, too. Keep out of the ocean. Thank you to Swamp Dweller. Thank you to Bigfoot Michigan Rob and everybody tuning on in. Shirky Poo for the news. And, of course, our guest, Adrian Reister, talking about UAPs in the USAF. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Stay out of the ocean. The sharks will kill. And good night. Oh, Smelly Shelly, thank you for that super chat there. Appreciate that. Sneaking one in there late. That's okay. Uh-huh. That's good times. Appreciate that. Take these things off. Super questions like, God damn it, Captain. Rip those people new ones without it, go swimming with the sharks. Teach them a lesson that they are nothing but food. You son of a gun with the great hair today. I got flat iron today. Teresa, do you like my hair? I know Joe does. He already commented. Hold on. Hold on. Let's get ready to download the show. Here we go. Download commencing. Fire 1. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Boom. Nice. Lori and Fenton going to Vegas with us. April 22nd to 24th. She'll be in the crowd too. God, I love her. She is amazing. Oh, she's arriving Thursday, leaving Monday night. That means it's party with Lorian. All right, so let's close those up. Honestly, that shark story just bugged me. Literally, they were talking about how this guy was found in pieces. Pieces! Telling you. It's going to be great. All right. I know. Oob to you, buddy. Oob to you. Any questions about the Dave 101? I'll give you space buns in Vegas, Dave. What the hell is that? There you go, Simon. You can have this one. These are honey lemon. Are they honey lemon? Yeah, honey lemon. They're really good. And they're gluten-free. Whatever the frig that means. This turnout for hey, it's Matthew Quiet Riot. Come on, feel his noise. Girls, rock the boys. We'll get wild, wild, wild. That's what we do. Thank you, Nicola. I appreciate that. Oh, your space buns. Hey, Thin Lizzy, you can do my hair like that too. We'll do that. We'll do it together. No, I don't have the toothache, Aussie Rob. Bigfoot Michigan Rob did. He had the toothache, not me. Put those there. Open that up because we're going to need that in a moment. All right. Yeah, I am just fine. I am just fine. That can close there. That can get out there. Let's move these up here. Give me 1 second here. I'm just getting ready for edit time. There we go. We'll put that up. All right. Hey, Monk, I'll tell you right now, if you can get to Vegas, all right, I'll let you stay in my room. But none of those aren't pillow type games. All right? Just saying. No questions on Dave 101, just my support, mate. Sorry, I've been away for a week. Sometimes work happens. Yeah, I don't like it when you work, Simon. I really don't like it when you work. Come on, man. What are you supposed to do here? All right, Spelly Shelly, good night to you. What is this piece? Let's get that in there. Tuck that in there somewhere. Hold on. Show off the guitars. Like play them or just show them on camera. What do you wish for? Oh, my head feels so much cooler after getting a haircut today. This one here is a Jackson. I forget the brand of Jackson it is. The black one here is a Jackson Dinky. This one here is a Court. And this one over here is a Fender Squire Stratocaster. Or Fender Squire, pardon me. Number 2. What the hell is this? It froze up? Oh, there I am. Sorry. Thought I froze up there for a second. I was like, what the hell? Didn't see myself. Hey, Swamp Dweller. Swamped Out Radio right there, my friends. We love our Swamp Dweller around here. Let's give him a big shout out. If you guys aren't subscribed to his channel yet, you are missing the heck out. Just saying. Our audience loves you, buddy. They do. We've still got to try and convince him to come to Vegas with us. Sign some swampographs. By the way, on Canada's Great Unknown, we put up a brand new video today. There's a new one coming out very soon again. I'll get you the link for it all because I do have it here. Oh, new Mothman stories on Swamp Dweller put out 2 hours ago. Oh, I know what I'm listening to tonight. Totally know what I'm listening to tonight. Oh, right on. We passed 400 subscribers tonight. Sweet. Sweet. All right, here's the link to Canada's Great Unknown. We put out some police stories today. Police stories. Fab22, how you doing? The Canadian winter is warming up. We had our cold spell in December, January, which was nice. Got it over with. And now it's kind of warming up each and every day a little bit, which is really cool. The only thing that really sucks about it is the fact that at night everything turns to ice. And, that's the only thing that really sucks. So you get these warm days where the snow quickly melts and then everything hits the ice again. And like, oh, really? Again? Like, I still have to put my truck in 4x4 just to get out of my driveway. Oh, really? Dave will not be sporting a wonderful man bun in Vegas. That is lies right there by Commonwealth Andrew. Complete fabrications and lies. None of that's happening. Yeah, I'm going to gather some names pretty quick here on everyone who we have confirmed that is going. I will get that done. That's a good idea. It's not in a man bun. I'm in a ponytail. No man buns around here. If I ever see myself in a man bun, I'll kick my own ass. First thing I'm doing when I get to San Francisco at UFO Con, I'm ordering Uber Eats so I could get some Taco Bell. That's exactly what I'm doing. God damn, I'm going to eat some Taco Bell there. Not messing around. Oob, just drive. Just drive. You're not that far. You're only like 6 hours. Yes, you can, Shelly. We are having a Spaced Out Radio fan party in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget, April 22nd to 24th. And we're not doing a conference. Well, we're going to be doing a live show on the Saturday that Lynn Wallington hosts, our Saturday and Sunday weekend host. And we're bringing in some fun guests for everybody to mingle with and everybody to share some stories and to share the woo and just enjoy ourselves for a couple of days in Las Vegas. And everyone is invited. The only cost to the entire event outside of your travel and your food is we're charging $25 for the live event. And that's it. The rest, you can do what you want. Hang out with us. I mean, we're all going to be hanging out together. You know, it's not like any VIP type stuff or anything like that. Everything is going to be together. So if you see me or Lynn sitting down at a table and we're having breakfast, by all means, come join us. Come join us. That's what it's all about. We may get a poker tournament going or play some poker together. We'll have a few drinks together. We'll all hang out and just have a good time. So if you want to come, Shelly, you are more than invited to join all of us down there. And we'd love to have you. Hey, Bim Jim, how you doing, buddy? I'm flying to Vegas, yes. And I'm flying to San Francisco. Hold on, I gotta do this. That's what I'm missing right there. No, we're just doing one show on the Saturday. That's all we're doing. Bakersfield. No, I won't be in Bakersfield. Home of the Condors. We are staying at in San Francisco. Where the same hotel the conference is at. Let me just find out. I always forget the name of it. It's at the same hotel every year. Hotel is the what's this called? The Doubletree San Francisco South Airport Boulevard. Same conference place every year. Well, this looks different. Unless they redid it. Looks like the same hotel. Looks like they just redid it. It's been a couple years since I've been there, so they must have redid it. Oh, Lori and Fenton just got a hold of me and said that they have, it's a Hilton now, not a Holiday Inn. So thank you, Lorian, for listening in the background. Yeah, it does look beautiful. It totally looks beautiful. Oh, they even got a gym room. I'm going to actually use that. Wow, they really redid it all. Holy cow. That looks gorgeous. Gorgeous. What did Lorian say here? Oh. Shelly Montgomery, are you going to join us in Vegas? Think Lizzie's coming. She's going to rock it. By the way, Lorian, the Canucks beat your San Jose Sharks 5-4 in overtime tonight. Mm-hmm. Just saying. 5-4 in overtime. Whoa. You guys will like this. Hold on. Where did he say that? He must have taken it down. Hold on. I'm going to take care of this. Oh, damn it. I'm sorry, Lorian. I'm sorry. You still got a single point. Apparently she was recording the game and I just ruined it for her. Oh, Lorian, I'm so sorry right now. I thought you would have watched it. Just kick me in the shins in Vegas. We're in San Fran. Where is this tweet? Apparently, Elon Musk put out a tweet comparing Justin Trudeau to Adolf Hitler. That's pretty savage. Pretty savage. I don't even think I would do that. I'm tired of all this kind of crap. But yes, apparently he oh, that's not a nice tweet. That's not. I'm not even going to show that one on the air. That is not a nice tweet. People don't realize Elon Musk literally is pissed off about this whole thing because he spent part of his life growing up in Canada. Everybody thinks of him as this American icon who grew up in South Africa. Okay. He spent a good portion of his life living in Canada too. And that's why he is very emotional about this. He has family and friends in Canada. His recent ex, she was from Vancouver. His children, or one of his children at least, is, Canadian citizen. That felt good. You jerk, John Hudson, ordering Taco Bell for home delivery. You. Good night, Lori and Fenton. Good night, Lori and Fenton. 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 That's the way we roll. Oh, and then she ends the conversation by saying, Taco Bell right down the street. You evil, evil woman. You evil woman. I guess that's, oh, you know what? I'll take that, Lorian. I will take that after ruining the score of the hockey game for you. We are now even. We are now even. I don't agree with it, but we are now even. Where am I going here? That's where I'm going. Thinking of Carrie Cassidy. No, I will never have her on. I will never have her on. am. When she tried to pull the bullshit story about 250,000 Chinese troops lined up along the Canadian border, ready to invade the United States, that was the final straw for me on nutbarism. Damien, I have seen the pictures. Damien, can I show them? Zune, what doesn't make sense about Carrie Cassidy's claims about that bullshit is the fact that 90% of the Canadian population lives within 100 kilometers or 62 miles from the border. 90% going from British Columbia right over to New Brunswick and everywhere and Nova Scotia. 90% of the population lives along the border of the United States. I'm pretty sure one of those people would have seen 250,000 troops ready to call Olay and cross the border. So when wing nuttery happens, we don't bring it on. Damien, if you give me permission to use those photos, I'll show everybody. They're kind of cool. All right, let's see what Damien brought for us here. Hold on. Check this out. Hold on. I'll share these. Let's hide that comment. These are actually kind of cool. Let me get out of the way here. So, that's a big feet. Actually, I'm not sure if that's a Bigfoot or a dog man. I'm really not sure. I'm going to be reading your comments too. I'm not sure if that's a snout or not, or if that's a head being blocked by the branch, but making it look like two ears. I'm not sure. That's a dog head. I would agree. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Let's go back. Hold on. Where are we here? I got to go back. Where am I? Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Where the hell Well, we'll just start from here. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. That looks like a tree stump with a face in it. Oh, weird. That looks like a mask. Well, that looks like a lizard head right there. Weird. Oh, look at that face in the rock there. That looks cool. That looks really cool. Look at the eye. Wow. Don't know what that is. Oh, there's a little face right in there. There's that. Look at that. Weird. Don't know what that is. Something right there, I guess. Face. Other face right there. Weird. Oh, what the hell is that? I don't know. It's kind of weird. What in the Sam? Is that weird tree branches there? Look at that. It looks like arms, legs. Damien, what is this one? It's definitely not a rock. That's either some weird tree or something. Poop and a footprint. See the toes? That's a footprint. Them's nice sweatpants you got on there, Damien K. Yeah, that looks like it's all brought up there. There's that thing. That looks like a dog man to me. That totally looks like a dog man. Oh, yeah, that is separated. That's nothing hanging over. Those are ears. Hey, CE5 Kent, how are you? Good morning to you in the UK. Another one. Oh, that's weird. See the nose, the eyes. Don't know what the hell that is. Or is that a stick there or a rock there and something else? I'm not sure. Almost looks like a little baboon. Could that be the two eyes, or is that one eye and another eye over here? Looks like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith there with the raggedy hair. Maybe that's where Steven Tyler grew up. That does look weird. This one I'm trying to figure out. Okay, that looks like a piece of wood to me. Like a tree stump. Trish Fryer, how are you? I wish I could zoom in on these. Not sure about that one. Something's there. That's a big black mass right there. Not sure if that's an eyeball there. That could be a slit for another eyeball, or is that pareidolia for me? Eye in the middle. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Does look like an eye. What are we looking at here, brother? Looks like a skinned tree. I don't know what that is. Okay, that looks like a hollowed out tree. This is interesting here. That might be just shadow pareidolia. No. Oh, right there. That's what you're looking at. Right behind that. Hold on. Moss people? The hell are moss people? Is that what this thing is right here? What are all the cans doing along here? Looks like cans. Anyways. Watch here. Boom. Now it's there. That interests me. Because in that photograph, it's not really there. There's nothing there. But in this photograph, there's something right here. Sure, it's a different angle. Oh, I see the face in the rocks there. Looks like Elvis. Lemonade. That cool, refreshing drink. That looks like a person. I'm pretty sure that's a person. Humanoid. That's a person. Right there. You can't convince me otherwise. I don't know what we're looking at here. In the middle with a snout. Here? Look at the size of that. That looks like a shoulder. Looks like a gorilla. Holy cow. Just want to show some. If we all want to see what FAP looks like, we got to go back here for a second. Well, that ain't FAP. That's not FAP. It's kind of what FAP looks like right here. Can't get a ball cap on that. But if you want to see the actual size, we got to go over here. Where is it here? Oh, it's back here. That's about the size of FAP's head right here. Land a chopper on that thing. All right, those are uploaded. Thank you so much, Damien, for letting us show those. Really appreciate that. Seriously, that was really nice. That's gone. It is that time of the night. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to have Dr. Wilbur Allen talking UFOs tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. And it'll be a great show indeed to finish off the week strong before the weekend crew comes in. Lynn Wallington, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. Then the after-hour show with Thin Lizzy and Gemma Jade. Big Willie's taking the weekend off. And John Hudson will be there. It'll be good, both Saturday and Sunday night. So we appreciate that. And thank you tonight to Thomas, R&R, Rob, Kat, Obi, Excalipurful, and Shelley for the amazing super chats. And really do appreciate it. Hey, Manuel, how you doing, buddy? I have not seen Carl. No. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Old Davy's craving an apple. So I'm going to go have an apple.